My girlfriend knew that only this herb could cure the poison in her body. Yet she willingly gave the life-saving medicine to the manipulative woman for my sake. All she wanted was for me to accompany her through her final days. Returning to life and facing this moment again. I took the life-saving medicine without hesitation. Yun Mengyao sadly watched the surveillance footage on her phone. She felt an emptiness in her heart. She knew it was a dream. She didn't expect the dream to be so short. It turned out the man went around in a big circle, all for a piece of medicine. But he had said it was a gift for himself. Now he still went to get it in a roundabout way. Am I really so untrustworthy? Clearly, I already knew he would do this. But why is his tone still so polite? At the moment I took out the herbs, Yun Mengyao immediately turned off the surveillance. She curled up, hugging her knees, covering her own eyes. The assistant Zhang Ting asked weakly, Miss, should I go and bring him back? Yun Jian said. Yun Lu's voice became clearer. Let everyone evacuate. Let him go. Zhang Ting sighed. There was no choice but to comply. After I got the medicinal herbs, I headed straight to the kitchen. I still didn't know what was happening upstairs. I just felt an inexplicable silence in the lobby on the first floor. An hour had passed since I finished brewing the medicine. As I was carrying the medicine upstairs, I happened to run into Zhang Ting coming down from upstairs. Zhang Ting looked a bit stunned upon seeing me. Why haven't you left yet? I frowned in confusion. Haven't I been staying here? Zhang Ting's brow twitched. Her gaze dropped to the bowl one was holding. Unable to help herself, she asked, What is this? I looked at the person directly in front of me. It's the medicine I brewed for your miss. Let it be. If it cools down, it won't be effective. Zhang Ting looked at me in shock. It's for my lady. Is my lady sick? I paused for a moment. So even her confidant doesn't know that Yun Mengyao is poisoned? Upon thinking of this, I gave Zhang Ting a sympathetic glance. It has nothing to do with you. Go back and get some sleep. Zhang Ting felt deeply hurt. Regarding my lady's matters, how can it not concern me? I ignored this woman further. I walked past her straight to Yun Mengyao's door. I raised my hand and knocked. At this moment, Yun Mengyao was curled up in the corner, hugging her knees. She let herself be engulfed by a wave of darkness. Upon hearing the knock, she answered the intercom with a hint of annoyance. I don't want anyone to disturb me. Listening to the voice coming from the communicator on Zhang Ting's shoulder, I couldn't help but be taken aback. What happened to her? Zhang Ting opened her mouth. She didn't know how to speak. Does my mistress think you ran off with the medicine? So she locked herself away alone. She can't explain this situation. She just left it for us to solve ourselves. Thinking this way, she knocked hard on the door. Miss, Mr. Lu has arrived. In less than 3 seconds, the door was opened with a click. This line seems incomplete or unclear in context. Yun Mengyao stared blankly at me. Her gaze glanced at the thing I was holding. This line seems incomplete or unclear in context. I looked at her helplessly. Let me in first, then we can talk. Any further delay is dangerous. The medicine is really going to get cold. Yun Mengyao turned to let me in. As I walked toward the table by the bed, I said, I actually wanted to tell you first, but you didn't respond when I knocked. I thought you were asleep, so I acted first and reported later, brewing that herbal medicine. After saying this, I picked up the medicine bowl and walked to her side. Level. Drink the medicine. Yun Mengyao did not answer, still stubbornly staring at me. Given. I had a puzzled expression. Otherwise, Yun Mengyao felt as if she had been on a roller coaster. The state of mind that had just hit rock bottom gradually began to warm up. However, she soon realized a problem. How did you know I would need this medicine? You must know about my poisoning. But still tell. He knows. I lied without blushing or skipping a heartbeat. Don't you know I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner? When I held your wrist today, I diagnosed it. Hurry up and drink the medicine. If it cools down, it won't be effective. Yun Mengyao still did not answer. Thinking about my strange behavior tonight, she felt as if she had caught a glimpse of the truth. You are because of the matter. Of the degree. This subtly pointed out the situation. It instantly plunged her recently warmed heart back into the depths of despair. I had a puzzled expression on my face. Yun Mengyao said dejectedly, Is it that if I drink this bowl of medicine, the poison will be removed? Then you can be free of any psychological burden, and completely cut ties with me. I was full of questions. I didn't expect that my offhand remark could lead her to fabricate so much. I felt both angry and amused at that moment. If I wanted to cut ties with you, I could just serve you the medicine. Why would I need to promise to be with you? Yun Mengyao said, Do you not trust me? Or are you insecure about yourself? Yun Haiyao forced a wry smile. You're the only one in this world who makes me feel insecure. He has always been a prodigy. Yet with me, he feels inadequate. She might even become jealous of any woman who is far inferior to her in any way, simply because the other person occupies all of my attention. This time, it was my turn to remain silent for a long time. Then she didn't explain any further. Casually handed the medicine back to her. Anyway, the medicine is already prepared. The formula used for Su Lingyan's mother isn't this one. If you don't drink it, it will really go to waste. Yun Mengyao refused again. It was a cloud of gloom. But inside, it was a fog of worries. She thought my change of topic and the way I said it was almost like I declared Yi to her. Almost monumental. If this is what Lu Yan wanted, I wouldn't let Lu Yan feel troubled anymore either. A bowl of herbal medicine went down. Yun Mengyao's delicate brows furrowed unconsciously. Meanwhile, my eyes and lips were filled with smiles. Is it bitter? Yun Mengyao curled her lips. Blame me for not preparing sugar for you. Yun Mengyao was amused. You're not a child anymore. Realizing that last sentence didn't sound like something Lu would say. Surely, if he understands his own situation, He definitely won't act rashly. He definitely won't stop at just this. Without waiting for her to look up and see, a shadow suddenly enveloped before her. I leaned closer and cupped her face in my hands. Then let me share the burden with you. After saying that, I kissed her. Yun Mengyao's pupils suddenly constricted. Her senses seemed to vanish in an instant. A wave of feverish heat struck her soul. A touch of darkness in the soul. An ambiguous atmosphere steadily rose in the bedroom. It seemed both of them were stirred by this kiss. How long? They both collapsed onto the soft bed. I pulled back a sliver of reason. You just took your medicine. Just lie down and rest for now. The desire in Yun Mengyao's eyes was still heavy and undeniable. She gazed at me in a daze. I gave you a chance to leave. You came in on your own. If she had never possessed it, she would rather hurt herself. Yet she couldn't bear to desire it. But she truly had it. It would be impossible to let go. Regardless of whether Lu Yan loves himself or not, no one should think about leaving her side again. Seeing Yun Mengyao lean toward me with her delicate body, I gently pressed down on her shoulder. I reached out to tuck her in properly. Then I sat on the chair beside the bed. Looking at Yun Mengyao, I softly said, "Rest well. Your body will recover faster." Yun Mengyao looked at me with her beautiful, hazy eyes. She pursed her red lips and then opened them. At this moment, I was already so tired that I couldn't even. I didn't have the strength to open my eyes. So I didn't catch what she said. I also missed the morbid obsession and possessiveness in her eyes. The next morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, there was a faint bluish-gray tint around my eyes. My brow furrowed slightly. I quickly reached out to check her pulse at her wrist. After confirming that the poison had been cleared, another thought suddenly popped into my mind. She wouldn't just watch me stay up all night, right? What are you renting? I asked it out loud too. After a long while. I'm scared. It's a game. I'm afraid of what will happen in a dream. We'll never open for you. It won't stop. Picked up my hand inside. This is yours. After saying that, I patted her hand. You disclose it first. I have to get up now that you're here. But Yun Mengyao not only didn't let go, but hugged even tighter. I pinched her hand too. V woke up from a dream. The feeling has become different. Naturally, it's a company matter. How much this position matters. I don't know about XTETV. Yun's jaw moved slightly. Jawed. But did not speak. I did notice what she was concerned about. Long. Upon hearing this, Yun Mengyao tightened her grip on my arm again. She immediately panicked. She was suddenly anxious. Seeing this, I smiled. The company. Words pause. You know. I want to kick her out of the company. Do you have any objections? Yun Mengyao felt like she might still be dreaming. After dinner, Yun Mengyao, who was about to follow me to work, was forcibly stuffed back into her bed. I left Yun Mengyao's residence. I walked straight towards a parked Maybach by the roadside. Assistant Shen Bingbing saw the visitor. She immediately got out of the driver's seat. She skillfully opened the rear door of the car. Luhi. I nodded in acknowledgement. I bent down and got into the car. On the way to the company, Shen Bingbing occasionally glanced at me through the rearview mirror. She looked like she wanted to say something but hesitated. Even when I was resting my eyes, I couldn't ignore her piercing gaze. If you have something to ask, just say it. Shen Bingbing cleared her throat lightly. Regarding Lu He's personal matters, subordinates have no right to inquire. But if Lu Dai wants to say something himself, as a special assistant, I would naturally listen attentively. I choked for a moment. I secretly wondered if I was too easy to talk to usually. Which assistant dares to tease their boss like this? But thinking about it, I also think there's no need to hide this from her. I broke up with Su Lingen. My current girlfriend is Yun Mengyao. From now on, we'll face each other when we meet. Alright. Although I had a feeling in my heart. When I heard this, Shen Bingbing was still a little surprised. Then she curved her lips into a smile, with a look of contentment in her eyes. Congratulations, Lu Yan. There's something I'm not sure if I should say. Caught up in the peak traffic jam, Shen Bingbing stepped on the brakes, and her thoughts became a bit clearer. Knowing that her boss has already found a new love, she spoke without any reservations. The subordinate has always thought Su Lingen is not good enough for you, and can't understand why you would choose her, while Yun Mengyao is better than her in every aspect. And yet you ignore the infatuated Yun Mengyao. But it's good that you've changed your mind now. It's not too late at all. Isn't it too late? But we completely missed one lifetime. If I hadn't been reborn, I'm afraid it's just as Yun Mengyao said. There won't be another chance to meet in the next lifetime either. As for why I chose Su Lingen before, I'm not blind either. I didn't choose a woman whom I admired in every way. Instead, I chose someone who was inferior to Yun Mengyao in every aspect. It's simply that Su Lingen and I were already in love in that ancient lifetime. And we died together in a tragic romance. And I was reborn in the modern era with the memories of my first life. Therefore, I couldn't help but look for her. Nor could I give other women a chance. After all, deep down, I am loyal to love. But after I found Su Lingen in my previous life, I didn't hold her difficult situation against her. I even comforted her, saying she had suffered because of lost memories. And I let her into my company. I promoted her all the way to the second-in-command position in the company. Then I helped her return to her family as an illegitimate daughter of a wealthy family. Diligently managed the family business for her without complaint. In the end, it led to such a fate. Reminiscing about the first life of tragic love, the promise of unwavering love through 3 lifetimes was meant to be supervised. Now it feels like a joke. I watched the scenery rapidly retreating outside the car window. I felt a flicker of anticipation for what was to come. You owe me from the previous 2 lifetimes. This time, I will make sure to get it back. Arriving at the company, I walked past the greetings of the company staff. I headed straight for the president's private elevator. While pressing the button for the top floor, I instructed, gather all the company executives. The meeting will start in half an hour in the conference room. Also, check if Sue Lingen has arrived. If she hasn't come, call her to come over. After a pause, I added, even if she's receiving an IV in the hospital, she must come. Shen Bingbing nodded in agreement. Yes, that is. But I couldn't help but feel curious inside. Su Daijian has been admitted to the hospital. Considering that my own boss just changed girlfriends, it seems she has discovered something significant. After arriving at the office, I turned on the computer. I retrieved a document and printed it out. I placed it in the folder. I flipped through the evidence records on the A4 sheets. A hint of a cold smile crossed my eyes. The first step of revenge, of course, is to drive Su Lingen out of the company. She wants to climb up by stepping on me. She wants to use my assets as family capital. She needs to see if I will give her that opportunity. Just as I was thinking this, the office door was knocked on. I stood up with the folder. I opened the door to see Su Lingen standing outside with a worried look. Lu Yan, I finally see you. What happened to you last night? I heard from Aunt Li that you didn't come home all night. Were you with Yun Mengyao the whole time? By the end of her words, her emotions were clearly agitated. I didn't respond to her words, but instead glanced at her hand, thickly wrapped in white gauze, and smiled. How's your hand? At the thought of her own hand, Su Lingian's eyes suddenly darkened. But upon hearing my concern, she immediately played the emotional card, trying to make me feel pity. The doctor said she needs to be hospitalized. But I can't stop worrying about you. So just let me do a simple bandaging, YF. Don't you also know some medicine? Can you help me take a look at how it's being handled? I directly bypassed her. I stepped toward the elevator. Su Lingen followed closely beside me. After knowing this person's true nature, even being in the same enclosed space with her, I still felt uncomfortable inside. Fortunately, the conference room floor isn't far from the top floor. Just before Su Lingen tentatively tried to speak again, the elevator dinged and came to a stop. After exiting the elevator, I took a deep breath of fresh air. I walked straight to the conference room at the end of the hallway. Shen Bingbing was by the door of the conference room. She opened the door for me. The meeting room was ready. Everyone has already arrived. Su Lingen looked at me suspiciously. I don't know why. She always felt that this person was looking at her strangely today. Shen Bingbing pretended not to see. Holding a freshly received stack of documents, she followed me closely. Amidst the gazes of many high-level executives, I calmly walked to the head of the conference table and sat down. With a loud slap, a folder was tossed onto the conference room table. This attracted the attention of several senior executives. I leaned back in my chair. Propping my chin on my hand, I said, I called everyone here today to announce some adjustments and transfers of certain senior positions. After saying that, I turned to look at Su Lingen, who had just sat down. During Su He's tenure, he took advantage of his position. He embezzled company funds multiple times. This severely harmed the company's interests. After careful consideration, it has now been decided to terminate his employment contract with the company. I paused as I spoke. I looked again at the stunned Su Lingen. Director, you are resigning on your own. You're just waiting for the company to fire you. Sound. It's implied that Su Lingen is truly skillful. Not only did Su Lingen appear dazed, can't we change the punishment method? As if they couldn't believe what they were hearing. Everyone's first thought is that the young couple is having a quarrel. Some are gleefully taking pleasure in this misfortune. Some people have also taken on the role of peacemaker. Director Lu, isn't this punishment a bit excessive? Although Director Su has had some. But there are exceptions. The sales department has been under her leadership. The performance has been steadily improving. Moreover, the embezzlement issue has already passed. Director Sun Yen has also made up for the money. The other senior executives were also stunned. I looked at the person who spoke. The entire conference room was silent. I've been with the company for less than a year. Then he can win over the veterans to speak on his behalf. According to Director Yuan's opinion, the sales department's performance is all due to his efforts alone. Embezzling funds is a legal violation like this. Such things can easily be glossed over, right? I didn't mean that. Yuan Jinchuan had a bead of sweat on his forehead. He caught Su Lingian's pleading gaze. He could only grit his teeth and continue to persuade. The relationship between Lu Yan and Su Jian. We all see it clearly. We also know that young couples often have misunderstandings. I'm just afraid that you might end up in a deadlock. It won't end well then. I let out a cold laugh. And I must thank you for thinking of me. I wouldn't dare. Yuan Jinchuan waved his hand, saying he wouldn't dare. But he still wanted to persuade further. I interrupted him. Yuan Jian's name might be miswritten. I am the president. Or are you the one in charge? Yuan Jinchuan was instantly at a loss for words. He cast a helpless gaze at Su Lingen. Su Lingen silently cursed him for being useless. They could only place their hopes on me. I want to talk to you privately. I did not refuse. If it wasn't for the executive's decision needing a meeting notice, it would be appropriate to gather opinions. I can't be bothered to go through this process. Disperse the senior executives as well. Yan immediately stood up, leaning her body forward, creating a graceful skirt. Her slender fingers lifted my chin. Her sultry voice carried a hint of teasing. Officer Lu, I need an explanation. I let out a light chuckle. Embezzling company funds. And then walking away. Is there a problem with that? Lingen furrowed her brow at me. You know I'm not asking about a... And if you're angry because of this, you wouldn't have waited until now to confront me. Nor would you personally take money to cover these payments for me. Would you? I couldn't maintain the smile on my face. She was reminding me of how much. You really want to know the reason. I crossed my arms. Obviously sitting. Yet my gaze towards Su Lingen was full of disdain. When I loved you, I could elevate you to the heavens. No longer in love. What do you think you are? Su Lingen tightly clenched her fists. Her chest rose and fell sharply. Mr. Liu, you were the one who pursued me first. Now you say you're not in love anymore, just like that. Then who do you love? Is it Yun Mengyao? My face was filled with impatience. It has nothing to do with you. And don't act like a victim. Do you really like me? Or do you see me as a tool to help you return to your family? I think you know better than anyone else. I have not wronged you in the slightest. And you owe me. You can never repay it in this lifetime. Su Lingen felt a twinge of guilt. Listen to my last sentence again. It seems like there's more than just this. She was just about to speak. But I pushed her away. Go submit your resignation yourself. Don't make me say the same thing twice. After saying that, I left without looking back. The dismissed senior personnel originally thought that the young couple would close the door to talk. The conflict has been resolved. This matter is settled now. But she saw Su Lingen walking out of the company building, holding her things. She looked dazed and lost as she left. For a moment, rumors spread throughout the company. Topic. When Yun Mengyao woke up, she saw a woman in a white coat, talking to her in Zhongting with her back turned. Miss, you're awake. Upon seeing Yun Mengyao open her eyes, Zhongting immediately rushed over. Yun Xingyue came to the bedside, eating seeds as she sat down. She reached out to Yun, and helped Yun Mengyao with her comfort. The poison has been neutralized. Speaking of which, when you said yesterday you would give the medicine to someone else, it really made me angry. It infuriated me. How did you come to understand later? Yun Mengyao hadn't spoken yet. When Zhongting started to explain, it was Mr. Liu who decided to brew the medicine for you, and Mr. Liu is now together with our miss. Thinking of the sympathetic look I received last night, Zhongting immediately felt wrong. Miss, you've been poisoned and haven't even told your subordinate? Don't you trust me anymore? Who poisoned you? Yun Mengyao ignored her, but instead looked on. Did you think I wanted to come? It's not that you still won't let go. She shot a glance, and asked. All in that would ever last time. Suddenly being so nice to you, and choosing to be with you. Don't you suspect he has any ulterior motives? In Yun Mengyao's eyes was a passionate intensity. Even if he had some scheme, I would be willing to give him whatever he wants, including my life. Unable to hold back her outburst of curses. Are you sick or something? Always risking your life. Is your life really that worthless? Zhongting hurriedly brought a cup of tea, and attentively massaged Yun Xingyu's shoulders, thinking that besides her own Mrs. Cousin, who among her peers would dare to speak to the young lady like this? She finished her drink, still in a bad mood. Even after drinking tea, she didn't show any signs of calming down. She drank several more cups. She placed the teacup on the table. She adjusted her collar. Done. If you're fine, then I can relax. There are a lot of things waiting for me in the lab. Although Yun Cheng doesn't need to be sent off, Zhongting still sent someone to take her to the airport. Yun Mengyao got up. She looked at the empty villa. Suddenly, she felt a bit out of place. Clearly, Lu Yan only stayed here for one night. Thinking of this, she looked at Zhongting beside her. Registering the vehicle properly. I'm going to pick up my... She pursed her lips and continued. Pick up my boyfriend after work. After receiving Su Lingyan's resignation request, I also made some staff transfers. Then, as usual, I sat in the office handling work matters. When it was time for work, I pinched the bridge of my nose. I picked up my phone and took a glance. It was all notifications from Su Lingyan and her brother bombarding me. I didn't even look at them. One click delete. Block someone. Just as I stepped out of the company door, I saw Su Lingyan's brother, Su Zi, approaching me head-on. Being a public figure, Su Zi can be said to be fully armed. He was wrapped up tightly. Even a true fan might not recognize him. But I recognized him at a glance. Su Lingyan embezzled funds multiple times, just to throw resources at Su Zi, attempting to gain popularity through others, as her second asset for returning to the Su family. After all, the Su family in the capital mainly operates in the entertainment industry, recognizing the son of a popular star, even if he is a bastard. For the head of the Su family, there is certainly some appeal. Su Zi stepped forward and grabbed my arm. Why didn't you answer when I called you? What happened between you and my sister? Why did you make her resign? Yun Mengyao originally saw this approach. Chang'an is trapped. But upon hearing Sus Day, the pull suddenly paused. The hand reaching for the car door stopped. Zhongting in the driver's seat looked back. Miss, did you hear that? Mr. Liu dismissed Su Lingyan. It seems he really wants to be with you. She said this while looking in the rearview mirror, only to find Yun Mengyao's expression was not very clear. Yun Mengyao indeed was not as complacent as Zhongting imagined. After all, I have to dismiss Yan. I mentioned it in the morning. But it shouldn't be. I don't know why the focus has shifted. The person has already knocked over the vinegar jar. She directly shook off Su Zi's hand. You already know about her resignation. I don't know the reason. Didn't she tell you? Su Zi was momentarily choked. I just feel a bit unfamiliar with myself like this. But weren't those all things you tacitly approved? My sister has devoted herself to the company. She has both achievements and hard work. How can you dismiss her for something that has already passed? Besides, the injury on her hand was also because of you, right? You get extremely anxious just because my sister catches a cold. This time, she got hurt so badly. It's one thing if you don't care. How can you cause trouble for her at a time like this? Su Zi's words were filled with accusations. As if all the blame was on me. I immediately interrupted him coldly. What I do is none of your business. If you think it's unfair, go report me to the labor bureau. Go ahead. Don't make me say it a second time. Su Zi felt a surge of panic in his heart. Brother-in-law. I glanced at him sideways. Who is your brother-in-law? I've already broken up with Su Lingen. Don't call me that anymore in the future. My girlfriend will misunderstand if she hears that. Upon hearing this, not only was Su Zi stunned, the surrounding employees also widened their eyes in surprise. They probably guessed about my breakup. They probably have some idea. But right now, I have a new girlfriend. The higher UPS couldn't help but feel worried. Su Lingen just left. Is another one coming? Because my status is too high. Everyone instinctively thought that me finding friends was just to provide aid. At that moment, a series of gasps arose from the crowd. Who is that? So beautiful. Is she a celebrity? I don't think I've seen her before. I've seen her. She seems to have been to our company before. As the discussions grew louder, everyone turned to look at Yun Mengyao, who was walking towards them. Everyone's expressions changed. Confusion appeared on their faces. Why would the young lady of the Yun family suddenly come here? Is she here for a collaboration? Shouldn't it be after work hours for her to come? Just as they were thinking this, Yun Mengyao walked up to me and stopped. She looked at me with a gentle smile. Shall we go? I came to take you home. Seeing this, the company employees present also opened their eyes wide. A bold conjecture lingers in everyone's minds. But no one dared to ask. Left speechless by my words. At this moment, Su Zi finally came to his senses. His eyes were filled with disbelief. You two are together? The first time I saw Yun Mengyao, he was amazed by her beauty. She is not only beautiful but also comes from a prominent background. Su Zi even wondered if Liu Yan had lost his mind. How could he not appreciate someone like Yun Mengyao? Instead, he was infatuated with his sister. And seeing this scene before him, he found it extremely jarring. I ignored Su Zi. To be precise, since Yun Mengyao appeared, I couldn't take my eyes off her face. What brings you here? Yun Mengyao lowered her head and let out a faint smile. I'm here to pick up my boyfriend from work. It was like an official announcement. In an instant, the crowd erupted. So this is really Lu Xin's girlfriend. I couldn't help but smile too. Let's go. Su Zi rushed forward. You are not allowed to leave. You are cheating. What did my sister do to deserve this? Use it and then throw it away. Can you really treat her this way? Everyone stepped back, watching the crazed Su Zi. Who is this person acting like a madman? Is Su Hejian's brother really like this? Still calling him a monitor? Su Lingen has already been kicked out, okay? But doesn't anyone think this person looks a bit like a celebrity? I remember now. Like that Su Zi. Speaking of which, they both have the surname Su. They can't really be siblings, can they? Upon seeing someone recognize themselves, they immediately shut up. They glared at me hatefully before turning to leave. After getting into Yun Mengyao's car, I rolled down the window and looked at Shen Bingbing. I have a task for you. Chairman Meng of Washing Entertainment intends to withdraw from the board. You need to get in touch with him. Acquire all the shares he holds in my name. Washing Entertainment's headquarters is located in the city. It's the entertainment company that Su Zi signed with. Shen Bingbing is somewhat puzzled by me. How did you know about President Meng's intention to withdraw his shares? But she didn't ask much further. She then nodded in agreement. Zhang Ting watched Shen Bingbing leave. As she started the car, she looked in the rearview mirror and asked, Miss, are we going back to Yujing or to Dewan? Yujing is Yun Mengyao's residence. Dewan is my place. Both are in the same area. Yun Mengyao looked at me with a questioning gaze. I replied calmly, Treasure. Zhao Yi. Her tone was somewhat disappointed. Zhang Ting silently slapped herself. Why did I ask that? I should have just taken them straight to Yujing. My own lady won't turn around and take it out on me, will she? The two people in the backseat didn't pay any attention to Zhang Ting's dilemma. I looked at the woman whose ears were almost drooping. I amusingly patted her head. Don't you want me to come back? Yun Mengyao looked at me with a grievance. You sing. My tone was somewhat troubled. But I still have some important things. The documents are at home and need to be dealt with. Tomorrow doesn't work. I nodded in agreement. No direct translation needed. You can say whatever you want. After speaking, I kissed Yun Mengyao on the forehead. A fleeting kiss like a dragonfly touching the water. Unhappily, I chased after her. It wasn't like this yesterday. After speaking, she pushed me against the car. She kissed me fiercely again. Listening to the ambiguous sounds coming from the backseat, Zhang Ting quietly raised the partition. Her face flushed red and then pale. The premonition before departure was confirmed. But at this moment, she wanted to kick over this box of sweetness. The car drove all the way to Dewan. Zhang Ting lightly cleared her throat. Mr. Liu, we have arrived. Yun Mengyao reluctantly moved her lips away. I opened the car door, blushing. As soon as I got out of the car, I took a deep breath of fresh air, until a cool evening breeze hit me head on. I blew away some of the restlessness in my heart. I patted my own cheek. It suddenly occurred to me that it wasn't it Yun Mengyao whom I took the initiative to flirt with? How come I ended up feeling suffocated by her instead? Doubting my life, I walked all the way to the door of a standalone villa. I lifted my hand and pressed the doorbell. After a short while, the door opened from the inside. A woman in a blue-gray apron greeted me with a smile. Mr. Liu, you're back. The meal will be ready soon. I nodded and replied as I walked inside. You didn't come home all night yesterday. Where did you go? As soon as I stepped into the living room, I was met with a question head-on. I saw Su Lingyan's mother, Qin Wei, with her arms crossed, sitting in the center of the living room sofa, looking ready to accuse me. Li Yanfang awkwardly fiddled with the edge of her apron. Mr. Liu, I just forgot to mention. Mrs. Pin has arrived. I've been waiting for you here for quite a while. I crossed my arms and leaned against the wall at the corner. I shot a sarcastic glance at Qin Wei. Does it matter to you where I go? Look at your attitude. Someone who doesn't know might think this is your home. Chin Hui's brows furrowed. She seemed to doubt if she had heard wrong. How are you speaking to me? Ling Yan was hurt last night, didn't you know? I called out. Is that all you know, that she was hurt? Chin Wei frowned. What do you mean? I walked over and sat down on the sofa opposite Chin Wei. I crossed my legs casually. I leisurely poured myself a cup of tea. After drinking, I looked up at her. I know she was hurt. So what? Chin Wei was both angry and puzzled by my nonchalant demeanor. But the other party offered a way out. She couldn't care about anything else. I heard from Zeze. Lingen got hurt because she was fighting for you. It's bad enough that you're not taking care of her in the hospital. It wouldn't make sense not to promote her, right? I looked at Chin Wei as if I were watching a joke unfold. Why not just hand the company over to her instead? Chin Hui's eyes lit up, but she still maintained her aloofness and said, your things were originally all Lingian's. Even if you don't give it now, you will have to give it to her in the future anyway. The cup in my hand fell heavily back onto the coffee table. The Qing dynasty has been gone for so many years. Are you still wrapped around your little brain? What? Chin Wei was momentarily stunned by that insult. After she processed it, she immediately flew into a rage. You dare to insult me? And you dare to turn it back on me? Do you believe I can make Lingen break up with you? I looked at Chin Wei with sarcasm. You don't need to worry, I've already convinced her to break up. Your precious daughter has already been kicked out by me. Now please do it immediately. Show the family. As my words fell, Chin Wei was stunned for a long time before reacting. What do you mean by that? You broke up with Lingen. How is this possible? She knows how deeply I care for her daughter. So even if I'm the president of a big company, she still dares to manipulate me everywhere. Now I actually said I've broken up with her daughter. I leisurely admired the wonderful expression on his face. If you don't believe it, just call her and ask. Being kicked out means more than just breaking up. It also means her position is gone. Chin Hui's face turned pale. She hurriedly took out her phone to call Su Lingen. As soon as the call was connected, she bombarded with questions right away. I couldn't hear clearly what the other side said, but I could clearly see. The color in Chin Hui's face gradually faded, until it was almost paper white. This is really pleasing. Now I understand. I pointed in the direction. Hearing my voice, Chin Hui's stiff pupils slightly regained some glimmer. She didn't mind my disrespect. She approached and sat next to me, trying to please me. Mom is in the wrong. I shouldn't come to you without understanding the situation. Did you have a falling out with Lingen? You can tell Mom. Mom will definitely help you teach her a lesson later. Don't really get angry with her. I looked at Chin Hui's fawning expression. I stood up, filled with disgust. You really know how to bend and stretch, don't you? Then I pointed at the door and said, I'll say it again. This appears to be incomplete or a fragment. Chin Hui's face was full of anxiety and pleading. There was no longer the arrogance she had when she first arrived. However, I didn't want to say another word to her. Aunt Li, get her out of here. Aunt Li, who had been silent until now, heard my command. She immediately looked troubled. Mr. Liu, let's have a proper conversation. Mrs. Chin is right. It's normal for young couples to have disagreements. You're making things so tense right now. How will you resolve this later? I gave her a look that was half smile, half mockery. Aunt Li, have you forgotten who pays your salary? Aunt Li immediately fell silent, turning to Chin Wei. You should leave now. Since we've reached this point in the discussion, Chin Wei couldn't possibly linger and refused to leave anymore. For someone used to being dominant, lowering their head once or twice is already their limit. Even being humiliated repeatedly by me. She has gotten temperamental too. Coming from an orphanage. What are you so proud of? You remember this well. This time, you chose to give up on Ling Yan yourself. Don't regret it later. When we return to the Su family, even if you kneel and beg Ling Yan to change her mind, I won't let you through the door. After saying that, Chin Wei walked out without looking back. But at that moment, she didn't know yet. When their family of 3 returned to the Su family, my status is also something Su Lingen can't reach. I leaned back wearily against the sofa. The empty living room felt unusually lonely. Before long, my phone rang. I glanced at the incoming call display. The voice softened slightly. What's wrong? Yun Mengyao's pleasant voice came through the microphone. Are you feeling down? I rubbed my temples. It's so obvious. You can tell just from the voice. Did Su Lingyan's mother cause you trouble? I suddenly sat up. I got up and walked out of the villa. I glanced around. I saw the black Bentley still parked in the same spot. But the driver's seat was already empty. I quickly walked to the backseat door. I knocked on it. The door opened in response to my knock. It revealed Yun Mengyao's elegantly curved profile. I opened my mouth. After a few breaths, I finally asked my lingering question. Why haven't you left yet? After a moment, Yun Mengyao fell silent for a moment. I wanted to wait and take you to work tomorrow. Seeing that I wasn't talking, she hesitated and lowered her head a bit sheepishly. I originally didn't want to disturb you. But seeing the person who just walked out, I guessed some situation. And I was afraid you might feel bad alone, waiting to take me to work. I didn't know if Yun Mengyao had gone crazy, or if I was the one losing my mind. Just wait here. Planning to spend the night in the car. Yun Mengyao didn't say anything. Her head hung down even lower. I felt like my heart was about to explode. I just wanted to find an outlet to vent, indulge. Thus, the sheepish Yun Mengyao was brought back to the villa by me. The food on the dining table was no longer steaming, but it was still edible if barely. I took 2 bottles of Bordeaux red wine from the wine cabinet. During the process of sobering up, I shot Yun Mengyao an annoyed glare. Eating. Yun Mengyao lowered her head and apologized. I was wrong. Please don't be mad. Angry. I glanced at the alcohol in the ice bucket that was sobering up. I bit my chopsticks and smiled. I still want to reward you. Although my smile was a bit sinister. Yun Mengyao was still tempted and restless. Reward for what? What do you think? I kicked the ball back to her again. Then I buried my head in my meal. After eating, I poured the sobered alcohol into a glass. I clinked glasses with Yun Mengyao. To celebrate your recovery from illness. To celebrate the clearing of the poison in your body. To celebrate my rebirth. To celebrate clearing the trash around me. To celebrate the second day we are together. And every day that follows. After saying that, I didn't wait for Yun Mengyao's reaction. I raised my glass and drank it all in one go. I poured myself another glass. I clinked her glass again. Why aren't you drinking? This wine isn't fake. Isn't it worth celebrating? With that, we downed another glass. Just as I was about to pour a third glass, I was stopped by Yun Mengyao's hand. You're drunk. I raised my eyebrows. Are you kidding me? I'm going to have a couple of drinks. I reluctantly let go. I'll listen to my wife. I looked at Yun Mengyao with sparkling eyes. The desire swirling in my eyes seemed enough to drown someone. Officer Liu, if you don't want to be unable to get out of bed tomorrow, then don't look at me like that. Even knowing I'm drunk. She still got incredibly excited when I called her wife without thinking. Do you know how poor her self-control is in front of me? And yet she dares to tease me so recklessly. My eyes were clouded with drunkenness. It seemed like I was trying to decipher her words. Then I wasn't sure if I understood. I beckoned Yun Mengyao with my finger and commanded, come into my arms. I was drinking. From now on, Liu can't drink anymore. This was Yun Mengyao's first method. Before long, I lost my senses. I hazily carried the woman back to the room. I gently stroked Yun Mengyao's cheek with my hand. Why are you good? Without waiting for a response, I said again, in this lifetime, let me pamper you. Yun Mengyao seemed to have heard that last sentence clearly, but I refused to say any more. Yun Mengyao chuckled softly. She lightly kissed my forehead. Aren't you happy that I'm good to you? I let out a sound of confusion. I didn't know what to say. I was getting caught up in a corner again. Is it that no matter how capable I am, as long as I come from a bad background, I will be looked down upon by some people? Yun Mengyao's expression turned serious. Who dares? I don't know what she is thinking. He raised his hand and grasped the collar of her clothes. Would your parents also look down on my background? They wouldn't let me be with you. Hearing this, I remembered the scene of walking out of the villa. A flicker of hidden emotion passed through her eyes. Her eyes flashed with a hint of energy. She extended her slender hands to grasp mine. She said seriously, my parents wouldn't. They would only be amazed by your capabilities. They have come to appreciate you even in that environment until now. My hazy eyes blinked. Really? Yun Mengyao earnestly nodded. It's true. My parents are very open-minded. They also respect my opinions. If you don't believe me, I'll take you home to meet them tomorrow. Seeing me, you fell silent again. Yun Mengyao felt a bit pleased inside, but she didn't expect a completely drunk person to understand every word she said. She took out her phone and made a call. Then I raised the temperature of the air conditioner. He helped me sit up with one hand. After Yun Mengyao finished her tasks, Zhang Ting just happened to arrive at Dewan with the prepared hangover soup. Yun Mengyao sent someone back to the method, holding the hangover soup in one hand. Help me sit up with one hand. Drink it first, then sleep. I leaned in to take a whiff. I immediately turned my face away to refuse. Yun Mengyao found it somewhat amusing. I feel like this scene seems familiar again. I've already drunk the traditional medicine. You still dislike this taste? I still refuse. Yun Mengyao gently coaxed. Just drink it. Or do you want me to feed you in a different way? I reached out to take it. While she wasn't paying attention, I poured both the bowl and the soup into the trash can by the bed. Before Yun Mengyao could react, I tilted my face up to kiss her lips. The next day, I was groggily awakened by a flurry of phone calls. I had just answered the call. I heard Shen Bingbing's anxious voice coming through. Check the trending topics. Suzy posted on Weibo to tarnish her in the company's reputation. The company's stock price has already started to drop. Upon hearing Shen Bingbing's words, I simply responded nonchalantly with a, oh, it's not a big deal. You've been with me for so long, how can you react like this? You can't be serious about this. I'm even worried Suzy won't cause trouble. Right now, they're practically delivering their heads on a platter. This is just what he wants. Shen Bingbing was once again impressed by my boldness. Sorry, Lu He. I overreacted. But what Suzy posted is really infuriating. Moreover, he bought trending topics and negative reviews. With the addition of his fans, there are countless insults directed at you on Weibo. I'm too angry to contain it. I said softly. It's fine. Let them criticize. As long as it involves the entertainment industry. The verbal battles become especially intense. In my previous life, I helped Su Lingen manage Tianyu, which occupies half of the entertainment industry. Naturally, I am no stranger to this. Shen Bingbing let out a sound of surprise. Lu He, aren't we going to release evidence of Su Lingen embezzling funds? I smiled slightly. Of course, we will release the evidence. But it's not just this. I'll talk about it when I get to the company. You just need to calm the shareholders. What I want is not just a simple request. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Yun Mengyao looked at me, her eyes full of excitement and eagerness. Amused, she playfully pinched my earlobe. It seems you guessed in advance that Suzy would do this. I cleared my throat softly. I just thought that with his character in mind, he wouldn't let it go so easily. And he wouldn't think of a better way to strike at me than this. So, do you need my help? I shook my head. Yun Mengyao has already avenged me from my past life. In this life, I will take my own revenge. On the way to the company, I boredly opened my Weibo. I saw that a post about this matter was trending. The president of the Lu Group is cheating. The popular young star Suzy speaks out for his sister. Clicking on this trending topic. The first post on the homepage is a long essay by Suzy. It's a lengthy post from his Weibo account. It focuses on how Su Lingyan has selflessly contributed to me. It also accuses me of using people and discarding them. It has seemingly portrayed me as an ungrateful scumbag, while portraying Su Lingyan as a tragic woman, perhaps out of jealousy towards Yan Mengyao. Although it mentions who I cheated with. As I read through it, I felt nothing at all. Only when I saw the comments criticizing Yan Mengyao, I turned cold, and silently noted down this ID. She glanced at me. What? I turned off my phone. I adjusted my expression. I was excited thinking about dealing with Suzy later. I felt somewhat thrilled. Ultimately, I asked the question that had been buried in my heart. Did you and Chong have a problem? What issue did you have with Su Lingyan? In the blink of an eye, my attitude towards Yan Mengyao and Su Lingyan's family was completely different. If it weren't for my personality, why would there be any change? She would suspect I had changed my persona. She didn't want to investigate me. But this uncertain feeling was truly uncomfortable. I hesitated for a moment. But as for what the problem was, I can't tell you for now. Can you give me some time? After all, the idea of reliving two miserable lives sounds too absurd. Moreover, in my first life, I was an ancient person. Even though I have taken the final step with Yan Mengyao, I still don't have the courage to reveal everything right now. Yan Mengyao wrapped her arms around my waist. I didn't want to say anything. She was actually asking in a roundabout way. Once my issues with Su Lingyan are resolved, won't it be that it won't last? She fears she's just my backup. She is my comfort during this time. A tool to annoy Su Lingyan. She is afraid that if everything goes back to square one, she won't be able to help but lock me away. These past 2 days have been the happiest time of her life. If I gave her hope, it could be a matter of her life. It could cost her life. After arriving at the company, I pulled up the evidence of Su Lingyan's multiple embezzlements. I packaged it and sent it out using the official account. Not a word extra was said. At that moment, Shen Bingbing knocked and walked in. She placed a document on the table. Lu He, this is the stock transfer document from Director Meng. We just need your signature. I flipped through the contract. Nodded in approval. It was closed well. Then I signed my name at the designated spot. Go prepare the car. Shen Bingbing nodded in agreement. Where is Lu Yan going? The corners of my lips curled slightly. As a new shareholder of Washing, of course, I was going to greet everyone. Get to know each other. Inside the Washing Entertainment office, Suzy smiled broadly while watching the decline of Lu's stock price. What's so great about being a president? Don't you know my influence in the entertainment industry now? Dare to show off in front of me. I'll make your company go bankrupt. Assistant Xiao Chao handed him the brewed coffee. The tone was extremely flattering. How long has it been? This man will just buy you off. And begged the lady to reconcile. Suzy snorted. Come to plead with us. Do we have to forgive him? If he dares to act at the company entrance, I'll make him kneel and apologize in front of the whole company. Just as he finished speaking, the door to the lounge was burst open with a bang. Su Lingyan walked in with a gloomy expression. Who told you to post about this on Weibo? Suzy was taken aback. Sis, I'm just venting for you. What kind of attitude is that? Lu Yan treated you like that. You still can't bear to retaliate against him? Besides, I just want to teach him a lesson. Wait until he can't hold on anymore and comes to beg us. When I'm happy, I'll naturally let him off the hook. Su Lingyan looked at him as if he were foolish. I say you're carefree while I'm naive and still carefree. I should be the naive shadow. Do you think this little thing can shake Lu Corporation? But the stock price of Lu Corporation has already dropped. What's going on? As Suzy spoke, he saw the stock price of Lu Corporation on the computer screen stop declining and quickly rebound at twice the speed of the decline. Assistant Xiao Chao also noticed this at that moment. Not translatable in context. Quick, look at Weibo. Isn't everyone cursing on Weibo? Aren't they all cursing at my mom on Weibo? Suzy, feeling a bit lost, picked up his phone. He saw several trending topics explode. The truth about Suzy's sister's resignation. The bloodsucking siblings got what they deserved. Suzy's eyes widened. What are all these? He clicked on one of the trending topics. The comments section had completely turned in a different direction. Suzy still had the nerve to post on Weibo to accuse others. He doesn't even consider where all this money went. He wouldn't have his current status. It was all thanks to his sister embezzling funds to provide him with resources. Suzy looked at the overwhelming comments cursing him. His hands turned cold. How could this happen? Wasn't the embezzlement all tacitly approved by Lu Yan? He still had the audacity to present it as proof to clarify. Su Lingyan said angrily. You still know that this matter will be detrimental to you. How much effort did it take? How much thought have I put into this? Under what kind of pressure did I endure? I elevated you to this position. And yet, you didn't even ask me a single question. Just act tough. Suzy knew he had made a huge mistake. So what should I do? Sister, we will announce that Lu Yan covered your debts. To prove that all of this was voluntary on his part. It has nothing to do with us. Su Lingyan was so infuriated that she couldn't think straight. Shut up. Lu Yan's clarification this time has already led netizens to a preconceived notion. They believe she is someone who is infinitely tolerant of her boyfriend. Even if evidence of him covering our debts is released, it's just adding bricks to Lu Yan's loving persona. In the end, she will still be the one criticized. Choices can be very frustrating. Sister, are you not going to care for me anymore? I worked hard to reach this status today. I don't want to withdraw from the entertainment industry. The member gently rubbed her brow. My brother wouldn't have today without that. It's all her hard work. How could she not care? She has a way of managing things. You should issue an apology statement. Just say you didn't know about my embezzlement. This way, at least you can save yourself. I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not afraid of their scolding. Suzy quickly nodded. Good. I'll go send it right away. However, he had just picked up his phone. The door to the lounge was broken open again. The assistant from the artist management department walked in. Mr. Su, this lounge no longer belongs to you. Please pack your things. Leave immediately. What? Now not only was Suzy stunned, Lu Mei was also taken aback. What do you mean? The woman in a suit wore a professional fake smile. Just received a notice from higher UPS. Washing has decided to terminate the contract with Su Yi. With a thud, Suzy's phone fell to the ground. Su Lingyan's expression also darkened significantly. What do you mean by termination? Clarify what you mean. The female assistant adjusted her glasses perched on her nose. If you don't believe it, you can just go ask outside and find out. Su Lingyan's chest rose and fell violently. She just realized now. Such a big incident occurred. Choosing such a high-status artist in the company. It's surprising that no senior executives came to handle the PR issue. So it has already been decided to ban him? This matter isn't serious enough to require a ban at all. Just handle the PR as she said. It can definitely be settled easily. Thinking of what the person in front of her just said, she took a step and walked out of the break room. As soon as she reached a corner, she saw a crowd of people gathered together discussing animatedly. Have you heard? Suzy has been banned. He really deserves it. No wonder Suzy doesn't have much backing. Yet his resources are so good. But this person is really too ungrateful. Who could disagree? But this hasn't reached the level of a ban yet, right? Besides, he is currently very popular. He can bring considerable profit to the company. How could our old boss bear to ban him? Rumor. I heard a new shareholder has joined the company. They directly ordered a ban. Upon hearing this, Su Lingyan paused for a moment. The new shareholder. Just as she was wondering who the new shareholder was, a sound of footsteps came from behind her. She turned around to take a look. Immediately, she felt a surge of blood rush to her head. She saw a group of senior shareholders from Washing, surrounding two people walking towards her. Among the two surrounded individuals, one was Feng Lidao from Washing. The other was me, who had fired her yesterday. Feng Lidao raised his hand and clapped. Let me introduce. This is our company's new director, Mr. Lu Yan. Everyone give a warm welcome. Those present clapped enthusiastically. At the same time, they exchanged glances. They all looked as if they suddenly understood. Just then, someone, not caring about the drama, shouted, Is that Suzy's sister and manager, Su Lingyan, up ahead? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's gaze turned to Su Lingyan, and lingered back and forth between her and me. Su Lingyan stared at me without blinking. Do you really want to go to the extreme? Seeing that the situation was off, Feng Lidao hurriedly waved his hand, dispersing everyone. Go back to doing whatever they were doing. Although those present wanted to watch the drama, in the end, no one dared to defy the box's orders. In an instant, only Su Lingyan and I were left at the scene. Going to the extreme. I savored the term, finding it quite novel. Your original position was given to you by me. Suzy's current status was built up by my support. Now I'm simply reclaiming what is mine. Just bringing everything back to square one. How is that going to the extreme? Su Lingyan took a deep breath, wondering what had really happened. Official. You know what I'm asking. You just want me to make it clear, right? I haven't answered this time. Suzy ran over. Sister. When he saw me, Suzy's expression changed instantly. It's you, isn't it? The company wants to hide me away. You're the one causing trouble. I let out a cold laugh. So what if it's me? Suzy was filled with extreme hatred. He screamed at me. I drank you. I didn't even blink. I reached out and grabbed his wrist as he swung at me. I applied force and twisted. There was a cracking sound of bones breaking. It was accompanied by Suzy's scream. I threw him away like a chick. By the time Su Lingyan reacted, Suzy had already fallen down. ZZ. Su Lingyan hurried to help Suzy up. Her gaze at me was chilling to the bone. I've noted down what happened today. I hope you don't regret it in the future. After saying that, she wrapped her arm around Suzy and walked out. I watched the silhouettes of Su Lingyan and her brother. There was a coldness in my eyes. Regretting it? My biggest regret is falling for her in 2 lifetimes. But I betrayed Yan Mengyao, who loved me deeply. I don't know if it's too late. I still have a chance to make amends. I made a phone call. After the call connected, a somewhat muddled voice came through the line. Who is it? Hearing this voice again, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. Su Mingui, the legitimate heir of the Su family. He is also Su Lingyan's half-brother. Who is it? If you don't speak, I'll hang up. Su Mingui. I called out his name. Su Mingui was taken aback. You are a renter. Who I am doesn't matter. I mainly want to remind you. Be careful of your father's illegitimate daughter out there. She's been thinking about returning to the Su family to Zheng for your inheritance. Su Mingui dismissively said. On the basis of those siblings? As long as I'm around for a day, they can't even enter the Su family's door. Mr. Su should really not be too confident. In the previous life, even when Su Mingui strongly opposed, it still couldn't stop Su Lingyan and the others from returning to the Su family. In this life, although they lost my assistance, they also lost the capital to attract the Su family head. But I understand a person like Su Lingyan. She won't rest until she achieves her goals. Su Mingui might not even be her match. What do you mean by that? And who exactly are you? I hung up the phone and added this number to the blacklist. I've already said all I need to say. If Su Mingui still doesn't wake up, then there's nothing I can do. When the time comes, I can always step in myself. Directly across from the cafe is a club. The outdoor viewing platform on the second floor of the club faces the cafe's transparent glass wall. Sha Wanning is talking with the person in charge of the Shenzhen branch. Glancing casually in their direction, after seeing me sitting across, she suddenly stood up. The person in charge across, LV Jianfeng, was taken aback. Miss Sha. Someone beside turned to look at her, and became fully alert. Sha Wanning looked at me in a daze. That man. LV Jianfeng followed her gaze. He then smiled and said, Miss Sha has been in the capital, so she might not know that he is not an ordinary man. Sha Wanning doesn't need to be anxious. She slowly took her seat and spoke, while LV Jianfeng continued. Miss Sha doesn't know him? She should know about the Lu Corporation, a company that emerged during his tenure, a groundbreaking artificial intelligence company that has soared since its establishment. In just 3 years, its market has covered the vast majority of sectors worldwide. It has become the leading enterprise in the field of artificial intelligence. Sha Wanning, being at the center of commercial power, naturally knows this well. However, there is very little information online about the Lu family's Kai. There is no name. There are no photos of him. We only know he is a gentleman, and he seems very young. He mainly operates in the Shenzhen area. When LV Jianfeng saw Sha Wanling looking thoughtful, he decided not to keep her in suspense. He is the Lu family's Kai. This took Sha Wanling by surprise. Listening to LV Jianfeng, she only thought this man held a high position in the Lu family. She didn't realize he was the president. She had thought, young, meant something else. But this man clearly looks only about 20. Or perhaps he just appears younger. If that's the case, then she might have mistaken him just now. In this case, she couldn't help but feel a bit hesitant. Since he knows him, does he know his age? LV Jianfeng said enthusiastically. I was just about to tell Miss Sha this. This man is only 19 years old this year. Seeing Sha Wanqing's stunned expression, Lu Jianfeng thought she was surprised by Lu Yan's excessive youth. Then he sighed. He's the same age as my son. But my son is still in his senior year of high school. He can't even understand a function. Yet he is already the president of a listed company. Truly, comparing people is frustrating. It's infuriating. Sha Wanqing felt her heart racing, as if it would jump out of her chest. Her voice also became dry when she spoke. Lu Jianfeng said with a smile, Miss Sha, do you also find it hard to believe? We people over 50 also don't want to admit that we are being outmatched by a newly adult boy. But having spent a few years in the Shenzhen market, he had to admit the reality. This boy, despite looking young, is not inferior to us seasoned veterans in business. Sha Wanqing was desperately restraining herself, just trying not to demand too much of herself. She picked up her pen and signed the document. Then, hurriedly, she said to Lu Jianfeng, this project has been snowed in. LV, please don't let me down. Of course. Subordinates must do their utmost. LV Jianfeng took the approval documents with both hands. Second protection is correct. 3 sides extend an invitation. LV has also prepared a banquet for Miss Sha. You must graciously honor us with your presence. Li Qian wondered how this guy could be so perceptive. Didn't she see that her young lady can barely sit still? LV Jian doesn't know. But she has been with the department for so long. She guessed early on what her young lady's reaction was about. Speaking of which, this boy's eyes are very much like her own lady's. They did look alike when she was young. It's rented. Shi Zhu Dong stood up and declined. Shan Yen has never liked this kind of thing. Do your part well. Everything is strong. Additionally, we have other matters at Shahi. You can go back first. After LV Jianfeng left, Sha Wanning immediately walked downstairs. She didn't even wait for the elevator. But when she exited the club's door, I found the spot I had just occupied was completely empty. The person had already left. Li Qian was also a bit stunned. Chong Bu Company. The cool summer breeze blew. Sha Wanning's rationality returned a bit. A pair of beautiful eyes gazed in the direction of the cafe for a moment. Chang slowly began to speak. First, make a phone call to make an appointment. Also, check his personal information and the experiences of the past 19 years. Every detail. Meanwhile, in the hospital ward, Su Zi was crying, out of breath. Sister, look how ruthless Lu Yan is. I feel like my hand is about to be ruined. Su Lingen was also quite anxious. But still, she comfortingly pulled him into her embrace. The doctor said it was just a minor fracture. You should be more careful about your diet. It will heal in some time. Su Zi continued to speak. But are we just going to let it go like this? Chang Chongyan bit her silver teeth. Of course, it won't just be settled like this. When we get home, anyone who has ever bullied us, I will make them pay the price. Su Zi looked up at her. But now you no longer have the Lu family as leverage. I have also been banned by the company. The Su family still has Su Mingui blocking the way. Will Dad possibly accept us? Ming Lingen said dismissively. How could I not leave myself a way out? This path for me is cut off. We still have the option of a marriage alliance. Marriage alliance. Su Zi slightly opened his mouth. Thought of something. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Do you still have contact with brother Haochen? Song Haochen. The only son of the Song family in the capital. Su Lingen approached him when she was in the capital. If the head of the Song family hadn't looked down on her status, and if she hadn't encountered me, a better stepping stone handed to her, she wouldn't have given up on Song Haochen. Instead, she turned to me. Although she chose Lu Yan, she has always kept in touch with Song Haochen. Plus her deliberate guidance. The other party always thought it was his father who drove them apart. In fact, he didn't blame her much. He still felt guilty towards her. Right now, I have already betrayed her. She has no need to hide anything anymore. Worry. We are still in contact. Once I've done the mental work on his father, we will get married. Su Zi was suddenly overjoyed. That's great. The Song family and the Su family could be. Song Haochen is also the only heir of the Song family. You two will get married in the future. If Dad finds out, he might even invite us back to the Su family. As he spoke, his expression changed again. Sister, you shouldn't have given up on Haochen before. Although the Song family ranks only 8th among the wealthy families in the capital, it has still been a prestigious family for many generations. Family businesses all have solid foundations. The Lu family seems to be doing well now. But how long can such a young company maintain its glory? Moreover, he is an orphan who came from an orphanage. It's just that mixing into high society, you can still be looked down upon. He thought that by getting close to Yan Mengyao, he could blend in. The Song family values their status. After listening to Su Zi's words, Su Lingyan's mood has finally improved these past few days. She took out a few sheets of paper. Wipe your pretty face. Song Haochen will be here soon. Don't let them make a fool of you. Su Zi blankly caught the tissue. Brother Chen is coming. Isn't he in the capital? How could he suddenly come here? Su Lingyan explained. The elder of the family is celebrating his birthday in the city. The Song family and the Zheng family are cousins. He came here to have fun. In the luxurious reception room on the other side, watching the woman walk in through the door, Yan Mengyao raised her hand to send Zhang Ting to make coffee. What a rare guest. Sister Wan Ning. What made you suddenly think of coming to Shenzhen? Sha Wan Ning tossed the car keys onto the coffee table in the reception room. He walked over and sat down on the sofa opposite Yan Mengyao. He acted as if he were at his own home. I still want to ask you, how have you stayed in the deep market for so long? You don't seem to be someone who can read people well. Sha Wanling's expression remained indifferent, but there was a hint of familiarity in her tone. What about your two younger sisters at home? I can't be bothered to care about you. Aunt Shu asked me to convey this to you. She said if you don't go back soon, she would come over personally. At this point, she paused. A playful smile appeared at the corners of her lips. Let's see which man has captivated you. This line seems incomplete, please provide clarification. Didn't care about Yan Mengyao's blunder. He then addressed Yan Mengyao's initial question. I came here to evaluate and approve a project. She composed herself and sat up slightly. The sparkle in her eyes seemed to brighten a bit. I think I have found my brother. I can easily find something to eat. A smile appeared. Yan Mengyao also fixed her expression. How can you be sure? Have you done a paternity test? Flower or blossom, context needed for proper translation. But I have a gut feeling that it's my brother. Do you know that kind of telepathy? All those suspicious individuals I looked into before, including those who pretended to be my mother because they looked so much like her, it only strengthens the feeling. Yan Mengyao was somewhat puzzled. Then what are you hesitating about? People run the paternity test center. No people involved in the paternity test center. On the contrary, they come running to me. Instead, they come to me. Is passing a message to my mom more important than your brother? Are you sure? She could be just another person from Lu's company. And the more I think about it, the more I feel it is. When it's time to reveal the truth, she instead felt a kind of unease. Yan Mengyao likely guessed the reasoning. This line seems incomplete or needs more context for translation. Just at that moment, Zhang Ting walked over with 2 cups of coffee. Yan Mengyao took a sip. She lifted it up. She casually asked, your brother should be found. He should be around my age, right? Even if you were born later. Just half a year later than you. Yan Mengyao was just about to ask Sha Wanqing for her brother's birth date. Suddenly, Miss Sha, who had just been pleasant, changed her expression in an instant. Don't even think about it. Even if you were of similar age. My brother was kidnapped at birth. It's been so hard to get him back. If I don't pamper him enough, he won't even think about marriage. Yan Mengyao looked at her momentarily. At Sha Wanqing, who had suddenly raised her hostility. She couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. It's still uncertain whether he's your brother. So protective of her own interests. With this disruption, she was too lazy to ask her brother's birth date anymore. She hurriedly tried to clear the relationship. Moreover, I already have a boyfriend. Sha Wanqing was indeed surprised to hear this. Before she could ask for clarification, a text message arrived on her phone. It was from Li Qian. It contained news about her brother. She immediately stopped caring about Yan Mengyao's love life. I have already conveyed Aunt Shu's message. I'm leaving now. After saying this, she gave Yan Mengyao no chance to see her off. Sha Wanqing then got into a black sedan parked by the road. Li Qian in the cab handed her a thin document and said, Miss, according to the investigation results, the boy's name is Lu Guan. He is 19 years old. However, his birth date is unknown. Additionally, he is an orphan. He was taken in by the Nanling orphanage before the age of 5. No other information could be found. Hearing that I am an orphan, Sha Wanqing felt both excited and concerned. What else could it mean? The possibility of him being her brother seemed even greater. Thinking about the hardships he might have endured as a child. Still no news. But why haven't the other messages arrived? Although the Sha family isn't like a top international intelligence agency, their power status rivals that of the Lu family. They can find out about a person's background. Li Qian shook her head. However, Mr. Lu's information seems deliberately erased. Only these remain. Just these bits are left. I can't find anything else. Sha Weining looked at the datasheet thoughtfully. She instructed in a low voice. Sha Weining glanced at her watch. What was the result of your appointment for the meeting? Li Qian replied. It's already scheduled. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Sha Weining nodded. She wanted to say something else. When Li Qian exclaimed, Miss, 7 places rejected our order. Shaw Waning looked up at her. Why were they rejected? Aren't you my knight GC? Yi Bai. One of the core figures in the 7 places. Yet also the most mysterious. The most unpredictable. Taking orders seems to depend on mood. No, not at all. I went directly to the official website. Then, shortly thereafter, my order was rejected. Shaw Wan Ning's eyes showed even more confusion. Then let's not investigate for now. The most important thing right now is to confirm whether Liu Yan is really my brother. Liu Corporation's executive office. I wore a uniquely shaped headset, listening to the 4th master, one of the 4 great figures, babbling over there. The young lady of the Shaw family in Wagwo is investigating you. I rejected her. Is there any reward? I lowered my voice. There is a stock. Truly heartless. But do you and she have any connections? Why does she want to investigate? Do you need someone from the 7th division to help you? After I finished speaking, I ended the call, leaving the 4th master across the ocean in a fit of rage. Shut down the computer. I called to bring Shen Bingbing back in. Filing. Shen Bingbing glanced at the time until the end of the workday. Lu He, aren't you waiting for Yun He to pick you up? Ever since our Hikai got together with Yun Mengyao, she found that she rarely had the opportunity to work as a driver anymore. Yun Mengyao monopolizes her commute to and from work. I countered with a question. Why wait for her to pick you up? Can't I just go pick her up instead? Yun Mengyao calculated the time and got off work early. She was just thinking of picking me up from work like yesterday. But as soon as she stepped out of the company, she saw a luxury car parked at the gate. How does this look so much like Mr. Lu's car? Zhang Ting was puzzled. Then she saw the back door of the car open. It really is Mr. Lu. Zhang Ting gasped. Mr. Lu, what are you doing here? I rested my elbow on the window frame, watching Yun Mengyao smile slightly. At this hour, what else could it be for? Of course, it's to pick up your young lady from work. This line seems incomplete or unclear. Could you provide context? Long eyelashes cast a shadow in the flickering glow of the setting sun. Beautiful like a dream. My heart inexplicably skipped a beat, thinking about how things would be if it weren't for Su Lingen. I'm afraid I must have been captivated by this person's beauty in a past life. I cleared my throat lightly, as if to conceal something. I tapped my fingertips on the edge of the side window. Get in the car. Yun Mengyao replied with an, one. Then I heard Zhang Ting gently call out, Miss, do you know what you look like right now? Only caring about oneself. Zhang Ting's heart skipped a beat. But still, I bravely said. A young lady blushing as she gets into the bridal sedan. Shen Bingbing and I laughed out loud together. Compared to Zhang Ting's bold actions, I believe I'm quite capable of managing my subordinates. Yun Mengyao beckoned Zhang Ting with her finger. Come here. Zhang Ting smartly shifted to cling to my thigh. Mr. Lu, help. Yun Mengyao's lips curved into a sinister smile. It seems you don't plan to come back. After dealing with her, Bao Qing got into the car. He bent down and sat inside the car. When Shen Bingbing saw Yun Mengyao get into the car, she started the car and asked, Lu He, we are going to Yujing. She still doesn't know that the two are living together. She only thinks it's a simple pickup of a girlfriend after work. This time, I turned my head. My gaze asked for Yun Mengyao's opinion. However, Yun Mengyao hasn't expressed her opinion yet. Zhang Ting came alive again. Assistant Shen, you wouldn't understand this, right? Given the current relationship between Miss and Mr. Lu, it doesn't matter where you take them, it's all the same. It's just a change of location. Yun Mengyao raised an eyebrow. This time it's Feng Lian. Shen Bingbing, however, seemed to understand yet not understand, until she heard me instruct to go to Yujing. Determine the course. Just before departure, she turned to glance at Zhang Ting again. Miss Zhang, are you sure you don't want to come back with us? No need. I still have to drive the young lady's car. Zhang Ting waved her hand. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something. Her gaze at Shen Bingbing turned to one of gloating instead. Truly, karma comes full circle. Assistant Shen can finally experience how I feel today. After saying that, she turned and left, without giving the other party a chance to ask. Shen Bingbing indeed was in a haze. However, she quickly understood the meaning behind Zhang Ting's words, listening to the ambiguous noise coming from the backseat. At the same time, she couldn't help but think. She had also driven her own boss and Su Lingen before, but she had never seen the two of them kiss. It seems that Su Lingen really is an unexpected event. Just then, a string of phone calls broke the enchanting atmosphere in the backseat. I gasped as I pushed the emotional Yun Mengyao away. I took my phone and glanced at the caller ID. What's wrong, Shalwa? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the microphone. Then a very young and vibrant voice came through. Bone. I responded with an, Are you doing okay over there? Yun Mengyao couldn't help but glance at me several times. She knows I have a younger sister. Is the daughter of the director of the orphanage that adopted him. She just had never seen how the two of them interacted. I also don't know. This is how I appear when facing that girl. It's as if I put away all my edges and masks. My voice was filled with tenderness. Even my voice was full of affection. But she still couldn't help but feel jealous. Shalwa still didn't know. Because her future sister-in-law stirred up the jealousy pot. What do I have going on over here? Just a bit. You and the hand? I responded with an, I saw the scarf. Shalwa's voice carried an indescribable sense of ease and joy. You finally understood. I heard her voice filled with relief. Suddenly, a wave of shame washed over me. It's a problem that my assistant and sister can easily understand. How could I not see through it? It's just that I had the promise of a life in the first lifetime. Even knowing that Su Lingen took advantage of me in the second lifetime, I never gave up. I only thought that once she regained her memory, everything would be fine. Have you started dating someone new now? Lu Shalwa's voice pulled my thoughts back. I gave a small hum in response. I glanced at Yun Mengyao and replied with a smile. I'll bring it for you to see when I have time. As soon as I finished speaking, there was a long silence from Lu Shaohua's side. Just when I almost thought the call had ended, Lu Shaohua weakly asked back, is she also in the Shenxi market? I'll fly over tonight. I'll help you keep an eye on things. I instinctively asked, aren't you supposed to have a competition? I quickly guessed her concern. I was momentarily at a loss whether to laugh or cry. She is the one I've chosen. You don't need to worry. It's been personally arranged. I hung up right after saying that. After hanging up the phone, I turned to glance at Yun Mengyao. Don't you have anything to say? I could clearly feel that. When I first answered the call, this person's emotions were somewhat fluctuating. Yun Mengyao had long ago taken her to see Lu Shaohua, and there were no small eyes then. At this moment, after hearing my words, am I the one you've chosen? I reached out and embraced her back. Yun Mengyao looked at me with a face full of happiness. Just having you say that is enough. The next day, I worked in the president's office as usual. Not clear, possibly a typo or incomplete thought. I heard a knock at the door right on time. Come in. The door was twisted open. Chiaka came in. She brought someone in with her. The moment I saw Sha Wanqing, my mouth twitched slightly. She was clearly well dressed. Those who know think it's a meeting of two company heads, while those who don't know might think she's here for a blind date. I'm not unfamiliar with Miss Sha, the helm of the family in the capital. There is a single mother who can be considered a strong woman above her, and this Miss Sha is also perfect. She has inherited all her mother's qualities, but rumors say she is cold and indifferent. She certainly won't spend much effort on her appearance. What exactly is going on here? If it weren't for a past life encounter, I thought someone else had come. Seeing my reaction, Li Qian internally exclaimed that things were going wrong. Is she being too forceful? I still remember when I woke up this morning. Her little brother had to dress up for the occasion. Although she stressed repeatedly, the paternity test hasn't been done yet. He might not even be her brother. But Missy still spent time in front of the mirror. She tried on clothes for 3 hours. No matter how she arranged them, she was not satisfied. In the end, she made the final decision. She dressed herself in this outfit, despite her indecision. It seems like things went wrong. Initially, I was the one to break the silence first. The summer box has graced us with its presence. Yes. As soon as I finished speaking, Li Qian saw her lady slightly stumble. She immediately felt it was too embarrassing to watch. Having followed her lady for so long, she had long understood that her lady was obsessed with her brother. Usually, she thought about her brother so much that it nearly drove her insane. Sha Wanqing did not realize how she was being arranged behind the scenes, what she had turned herself into. Upon hearing my voice, her eyes instantly lit up with surprise. Familiar with taxes, she understood it clearly. Her lady's IQ was 0 in front of her brother. My attitude towards Sha Wanqing was somewhat strange. Sha Day's face often graced the covers of various financial magazines. It was hard not to recognize her. Sha Wanqing's reasoning slowly returned. She was angry. Flavor Box 4. Established at a young age, and led the latest artificial intelligence technology to the global stage. Wash meal. This has turned into commercial mutual flattery again. I tugged at the corners of my lips. I got up and walked towards the reception sofa. Sha doesn't need to be so formal. Assistant Shen. Go make some coffee. Bing nodded in agreement. Before leaving, she glanced at Sha Waning with suspicion. I asked straightforwardly, what does Sha he want to see me about? As far as I know, the Sha family's business does not involve artificial intelligence. Or is it that Sha has intentions to expand into this area? Sha Waning had a smile on her face. If I say I do, would Lu Yi be willing to grant me this favor? I hesitated for a moment. The Sha family is wealthy and influential. I know a thing or two about Miss Sha's style in business. As long as it's not a case of backstabbing. If I cooperate with them, I'm guaranteed to profit. I moved my index finger up and down the armrest. So what aspect does Miss Sha have in mind? Are they engaging in production or? Sha Waning immediately replied. Investment. Only investing back. What does Lu Yi want to do? I immediately felt a sense of caution. The current shareholders of the Lu Corporation have reached a balanced stake. The less significant shares of the Sha Corporation might not appeal to her. Mian knows I misunderstood. Sha Wanqing quickly interrupted, knowing I had misunderstood. Say, capital. Don't accept the price and don't take shares of the Lu Corporation. In fact, she also wants to give nothing good. In fact, she doesn't want to give any dividends. But she's afraid I'll suspect and overthink it. So she refrained from bringing it up. I was genuinely surprised this time. There are indeed examples where one invests without taking shares. But this is practically like giving it to me for free. Matters of money would be in line with the Sha Corporation's style. No matter how upright the Sha lady is, she wouldn't be keen on doing charity, right? Renting like this. I also asked about it. Sha Wanqing thought to herself. No wonder at a young age, the position. If Li Qian next to her knew her lady's thoughts, she would definitely shake her neck and shout. Wake up. This isn't your song. Isn't it for yourself? If Lu he is not at ease, I can sign the guarantee letter. I interrupted her. Can I know why? Because you are my brother. I am willing to invest money in you. Of course, Sha Wanqing can't express her true thoughts right now. Since its establishment, Lu's company has steadily risen in social status. Although Sha's company did not seize the best opportunity, now they also want to share in the profits. Is Lu Dai willing to give me this opportunity? I remained silent for a long time. I still retained my stance. I can't just take advantage of you for nothing. You should take a look at the company's performance overview before making a decision. As I spoke, I turned to look at Shen Bingbing, who walked in with coffee. Bring over the recent development summary of the company. Shen Bingbing nodded in agreement. After I took the document that Shen Bingbing handed me, I intended to pass it to Sha Wansheng. Suddenly, I saw Kai stand up. Fang stood up. He sat down next to me. He looked like he wanted to watch it with me. Since Lu he thinks so much of me, I'll respectfully comply then. The strange feeling I had when I first saw Sha Wansheng intensifies at this moment. You have to sit next to me to look at the document. AHZL. Sha Wansheng pointed to a section for him. Could you help me explain this part? I'm a bit confused. I need to control the guidance. I looked down at the part she was pointing to. Sha Wansheng took the opportunity while my attention was diverted. With her other hand, she gently picked up. She reached for my hair. From Shen Bingbing's angle, Sha Wansheng's small movements behind me are not visible. But from Li Qian's angle, it was clear as day. Her heart raced along with Sha Wansheng's hand approaching her throat. Just as she was about to succeed, it was as if I had eyes in the back of my head. I turned around and grabbed Sha Wansheng's wrist. The friendliness on my face disappeared. In its place was a flash of anger. Miss Sha, please behave yourself. Sha Wansheng was taken aback. I didn't expect you to be so perceptive. Li Qian could hardly bear to watch this ghastly scene. The young lady from our family has always been straightforward and upright. This is the first time engaging in such a shady business. And it all went wrong. Since I've already been caught. Sha Weining no longer hides it. Mr. Lu has misunderstood. I just feel like you resemble my long-lost brother. So just now, I wanted to take your hair for verification. I didn't explain it to you beforehand. I sincerely apologize. Regarding my background in this modern life, I rarely delve into it. I only remember being taken away right after I was born. I was abducted by a man wearing a black hood. After a long car ride. After confirming that I had shaken off my pursuers. The man whose face I couldn't see reached out to cover my mouth and nose, attempting to silence me. That man seemed to never expect that a newborn baby would have the thoughts of an adult. Understand how to hold back and pretend. Noticing the baby's struggles gradually cease. The breathing problem. Then threw me into the bushes by the roadside. I quietly waited for several thugs to leave. Noticing that there were passers-by. Crying loudly attracted attention. And I met the director of the orphanage who later adopted me. It seems if I hadn't been born with the memories of my past 2 lives. Smartly saved myself in a critical moment. This time, I was supposed to die at birth. I don't blame my relatives in this life for not protecting me well. After all, such an incident. Probably no one expected it. But because I needed to find Lingen. Also afraid of being a child under my relatives' watch. Acting with an inconvenient mindset. Then there was the head of the family. Just until today, 19 years later. Someone who seems to be a relative actively seeks me out. Recalling a remembered situation. I didn't respond to Sha Wan's apology at all. Instead, I asked another question. So you checked my background. It's also because of this. Ning is all the way. Sha Wan Ning was taken aback again. You know. Is Sha too young? He chuckled. I wouldn't even notice if my details were being checked. Then this company's president position. I should just hand it over. Sha Wan Ning felt both ashamed and gratified for a moment. Seeing that I had no intention of getting angry. After apologizing again, she directly put forward her demands. Mr. Lu must have already known. Are you willing to make a deal with me? When Shen Bingbing walked in holding coffee, she heard this statement. As she set down the coffee, her gaze shifted between her boss and Sha Wan Ning's faces. I don't know if it's just a psychological effect, but it really seems a bit similar. My gaze fell on the swirling coffee surface. My fingertips lightly tapped on the armrest. Seeing me hesitating and not speaking, Sha Wan Ning. Not love. Mr. Lu. Small county. Our family is in pain as well. He feels very guilty. But so much happened at that time, and it was all too sudden. Not only was the newborn brother taken away. We are fine. Our relatives also suddenly went missing. Plus, a group of relatives and shareholders took advantage of the chaos. Mom almost didn't make it in the delivery room. We have been looking for our brother's whereabouts. Even knowing that he was likely to be in danger after being taken in that situation. We have never given up. If you were the brother, can't you give us a chance? We know you must have suffered quite a bit over the years. We will definitely make it up to you. When it comes to the end. They all added a request. She sang a plea. Yes, Mr. Lu. Li Qian chimed in. The 3 young ladies are almost going mad thinking about the brother. Although the lady is usually quiet. She often stays in the room prepared for this young master of the Sha family. She stays there for an entire day. They hope every day to reunite with the young master. I looked at Sha Wan Ning's pleading eyes. Her expression was a bit unnatural. Besides Yun Mengyao, I really haven't seen any other heavenly beauty being so humble in front of me. I've easily dealt with those who play tricks and give me the cold shoulder. I can handle them with ease. But I'm afraid of encountering this kind. That's something. I might not even be your brother. You don't need to talk to me like that. As I said this, I raised my hand. I pulled out some hair with roots and handed it to Sha Wan Ning. I have other things to do this afternoon. I need to do a paternity test. Just go by yourself. Shen Bingbing, noticing this, reminded me with some concern. Aren't you going to follow? If you just give away the hair like this, aren't you afraid someone will use your hair for other purposes? Considering Sha Wan Ning's presence, he didn't say the rest of his words. But the meaning was clear. This time, Sha Wan Ning didn't speak. I looked up and replied. So I'm assigning you a task. Next, accompany Sha Wansheng to do the paternity test. You don't need to follow me anymore. Only then did Shen Bingbing feel relieved. Yes. Sha Wansheng didn't feel offended by their conversation. Instead, she felt comforted by my vigilance. She carefully took the hair I handed her. She sealed it with a pre-prepared sterile bag. Then she gave me a deep glance. She didn't call me Lou Dai or Mr. Lou. Wait until I finish the paternity test. I'll come to find you once the results are out. I pushed the collaboration proposal back to her. Since your purpose in coming here isn't collaboration, why don't you just take this? Sha Wanqing suddenly felt awkward. I raised my hand to interrupt him. I've looked at this collaboration project. It's completely just giving me money. Right now, it's still uncertain whether I'm your brother. I won't take advantage of this either. Take it away. Seeing my determination, Sha Wanqing, I can only swallow my extra words, signaled to take it, and reached out to Shen Bingbing. No need to reach out. I dare not. I dare not. Sha, he leaves first. Shen Bingbing was half startled by Sha Wanning's gesture. Let's not mention Sha Wanning's noble status first. Even if the paternity test proves they are related by blood, the other party is also a sister from our own family. How could she dare to walk in front? Sha Wan says little and doesn't act awkwardly. Zhang Mi and Ning said little. The pace remained steady and composed. But Li Qian, who knows her well, could still see a hint of urgency. Of the company. The Sha family in the capital. Yang Wanyan is handling affairs in the study. Received a call from Sha Wan Ning. Learned that the other party might be looking for her son. Suddenly stood up excitedly. I'm going to the city right now. Sha Wan Ning hurriedly spoke up. It's still uncertain if it is. Just have someone airlift the hair over. I'm afraid that my own efforts are not precise enough. The butler, Lu Dequan, also advised gently. Madam, please don't be agitated for now. This isn't the first time we found someone who might be the young master. It's more important to take care of your health. Yang Wanyan finally took a seat slowly. She recalled the repeated surprises and disappointments from before. Her eyes couldn't help but shimmer with moisture. No matter what. I hope this time it's true. It has been 19 years and 7 months. I haven't slept peacefully for a day. What if something happened to the child? Or if they are already gone? I don't even know. How many more 19 years can I wait? Yang Wanyan couldn't afford to feel nostalgic anymore. She hurriedly plucked a certain amount of hair. She put it into a sealed bag. She performed the entire process with remarkable skill. Quickly get someone to prepare the helicopter. Go quickly to take the head. Send the head over. I don't know if it's because of my own problems. The Shaw family is in chaos again. To be precise. Although I agreed to the paternity test, I personally don't care much about the result of this test. Given my current social status, I don't need family. You can still live very well. Moreover, Yan Mengyao has said that my parents don't care about lineage. So there's nothing that can hinder me from him. I pushed all these thoughts aside. I took out the invitation from the Zheng family that I received a few days ago. I made a phone call. Before long, a blonde woman with her eyes closed and wearing sunglasses walked in. She was also carrying several large bags. Darling, did you miss me? I glanced at her. Enough small talk. Give me the clothes and shoes. The person was not upset at all. Instead, she smiled cheerfully. As you wish. The man in front of me was none other than the internationally renowned stylist, Diana, known as the stylist to the stars, currently working at Washing Entertainment. As the godfather of styling in the entertainment industry, even top-tier artists have to queue up to have their styling done by her. It all depends on her mood. Such a character, yet she is always at my beck and call, taking advantage of the time while I go to the lounge to change my dress. Diana was biting into an apple. She mumbled with her mouth full. I just returned from a business trip, and I heard you become a shareholder in our company. What's the matter? Are you planning to support me? I ignored her. Diana didn't mind either. She continued speaking to herself. I heard you broke up with Ms. Su. Congratulations. How about considering me next? I gave her a glance. I already have a girlfriend, thank you. Diana looked as if she had discovered something extraordinary. You really cheated. I thought it was that brainless Suzy slandering you. Well done. So who is your girlfriend now? I walked over and sat down at the desk. Can we start styling now? Diana gently brushed her right hand across my cheek. She smiled lightly. Coming right up. Yun Mengyao glanced at the time. She was about to make a call. Just then, the office door was pushed open. Zhang Ting peeked her head in. Miss. Mr. Liu has arrived. Yun Mengyao thought I was there to fetch her again. But looking at this expression. Who are you? Her voice stopped as she saw me step in. The moment I entered through the door, the handsome look has improved quite a bit. She stared at me in a daze. She managed to speak. I walked over to Yun Mengyao's side. With my hands resting on one side of the desk, Yun Mengyao closed her eyes briefly. Her chest rose and fell sharply. She replied, her face flushed. Where are you going? I was a bit puzzled. Didn't you receive the invitation from the Zheng family? I did receive it. When she said this, she paused. She instructed over the intercom. Post tonight's conference call to tomorrow. This is an international conference call. We've been preparing for this for over a month. Yun Mengyao seemed to want to say more. I was interrupted. You don't have to go if you have something to do. Honestly, I didn't want to attend this kind of banquet either. But Uncle Zheng helped me a lot when the company was first established. I can't afford to disrespect him. Mengyao spoke with a hint of jealousy. You look so handsome. Going to the banquet alone. You must be charming enough to captivate those rich heiresses. I'll go with you. I shot her a glance. Don't be willful. Yun Mengyao grabbed my hand. She bit me as if to vent her frustration. But in the end, she couldn't bring herself to bite hard. I will find you after I finish my meeting. Call me promptly if anything comes up. As night fell, the lanterns began to light up. Outside the Jung family's gate, one after another, luxury cars kept arriving. The father and son of the Jung family stood outside the gate with smiles, welcoming every guest that arrived. When I arrived, the bustling entrance suddenly fell silent. Only the sound of suppressed gasps remained. When Jung Guojang saw me, he was also taken aback. Then he pulled his son and walked over. Usually, my attention is focused on Lu He's abilities and charisma. Only today did I realize Lu Day's appearance is no less impressive than his abilities. Dressed this way, even stars from the entertainment industry would feel inferior. I handed him the prepared gift in advance. Uncle Jung is too kind. If Lu Ren can come, I will feel proud. Why bring a gift? Jung Guojang playfully chided. While happily accepting the gift box, he handed it to the butler beside him. I tugged at my lips. It's only right. Little Long. This is the brother I often tell you about. Jung Guojang pushed Jung Long forward a bit. He is only 19 years old. He is already a director of a listed company. He's even more capable in the business world than your father and me. Just look at you. You still have a month until you turn 19. You can't even make it into the top 500 of your class. All he does all day is play. I don't expect you to be as capable as Mr. Lu. If you could be 1 in 10,000 of them, I could worry less, too. You go shopping all day. Annoying, isn't it? Jung Long swatted his hand away. He shot me an inadvertent glare. You can greet the guests here by yourself. I'm going to hang out with my cousin. You child. Jung Guojang watched Jung Long's back as he ran away. He was so angry he could only stare in disbelief. He then forced a smile and spoke to me. I apologize for embarrassing Mr. Lu. This child has been spoiled by me. When I go back, I will definitely teach him a good lesson. I have a bit of a headache. I know Jung Guojang means no harm. It's just a common problem among many parents. But this has inadvertently drawn some hatred toward me. Moreover, from what Jung Long said, this isn't the first time he's nagged in front of him. Jung Yi's way of educating children is indeed somewhat thoughtless. Everyone has their own ambitions. Don't push the child too hard. What Lu He taught is. Jung Guojang summoned a servant. Lu He, please come in. I nodded slightly. I stepped forward, following the leading servant. Inside the banquet hall, Jung Long ran back all the way. He headed straight for Song Haochen. Cousin. Song Haochen raised his hand to catch him. Weren't you welcoming guests with uncle at the door? Why did you run back? Jung Long said angrily. It's not like I ran into someone. My dad said it at home, that's one thing. But to compare us in front of that person, it's really driving me crazy. Song Haochen looked puzzled. Which person? That boxcutter from the company. Jung Long curled his lip. Does this have anything to do with me this time? It makes me live in his shadow all day. As soon as he finished speaking, Song Haochen and the Su siblings beside him changed their expressions at the same time. Su Zi had a look of intense hatred. He has arrived too. Ah. Jung Long nodded. My dad almost regards him as an idol. How could we not invite him over? Ms. Su noticed that Song Haochen looked different. She quickly held his hand. She soothingly said, don't take it to heart. Just treat him as if he were invisible. My heart is only with you. As soon as she finished speaking, a gasp and an exclamation arose from the crowd. Ms. Su unconsciously turned her head to see the bureau director walking towards her. She was momentarily stunned. He has always known I was handsome, but I never expected that I could be this handsome. Su Zi suddenly pulled at my side. Sis. Ms. Su suddenly came to her senses and hurriedly diverted her gaze. But her peripheral vision couldn't help but glance at me. Seeing her in such a distracted state, Song Haochen unconsciously gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with shadows as he looked at me. After the initial amazement, many entrepreneurs approached with champagne to greet us. It was a high society banquet. To some extent, it was also a networking event for business celebrities. Due to the company's top position in the Shenzhen market, and also because I rarely appear in such settings, I hadn't been there long. When I was surrounded by everyone present, Jung Long glanced at me, who was like the center of attention. He then looked at Song Haochen, who was being ignored. He couldn't help but step out to defend him. It was a beautiful act of standing up for someone. Those who knew thought this was my grandfather's birthday banquet. Those who didn't know might have thought it was Lu's personal party. As soon as Lu arrived, he drew all the attention. It was as if he looked down on the Jung family. After all, he was born to seek the spotlight. He deliberately raised his voice. This caused the entire banquet hall to fall silent instantly. The people surrounding me all turned their heads. They didn't know what Jung Long was trying to pull. Just then, someone said out of the blue, isn't that Su Hejian from the company? A single stone can stir up 1,000 waves. My relationship with Ms. Su is not a secret among the upper class in the deep market, especially since there was such a commotion on Weibo yesterday. It's human nature to love gossip. Even those from wealthy families can't escape this custom. In an instant, everyone's gaze unconsciously drifted between Ms. Su and me. A young man standing beside me couldn't help but retort. Still a Hejian, huh? Didn't you see yesterday's Weibo? This person has already been kicked out by Lu Dai. The lady was humiliated publicly. Her expression immediately turned cold. The flicker of affection she had for me just now vanished without a trace. Su Zi can't stand anyone mocking her sister. She immediately blocked Song Haochen's shoulder, and retorted sarcastically. We should also thank Lu He for his grace of not marrying. Otherwise, how could my sister reconnect with brother Haochen successfully? His gesture in this statement draw everyone's attention to Song Haochen. Someone couldn't help but curiously asked, who is this? You mean my cousin? Jung Long immediately stepped forward to introduce. He is the young master of the Song family in the capital. The Song family, one of the 10 prominent families in the capital. Someone exclaimed. Otherwise? Jung Long gave that person a look as if to say, isn't that obvious? And you all probably don't know, right? My sister-in-law is also from one of the 10 prominent families in the capital. The daughter of the Su family. She and my cousin are a match made in heaven. No matter how capable someone is, they are still an orphan with unknown parents. I tightened my fingers around the champagne. My gaze fell on the faces of several people across from me. I smiled and raised the champagne in my hand. Miss Su truly deserves Mr. Song. After all, even a bastard child is still a member of the Su family. As soon as I finished speaking, a wave of sighs swept through the scene. The aristocracy values bloodlines above all. The distinction between legitimate and illegitimate children is like heaven and earth, compared to orphans with unknown parents. Illegitimate children are even more looked down upon. They were still puzzled. If Ms. Su is from the Su family, how could she be working under me? Suddenly, it dawned on them. Su Lingyan's face looked as though she had been slapped. How could you? The curve of my lips widened. Am I wrong? Suzy, with red eyes, was about to rush at me, but was pulled back by Jung Long. After all, he was still mindful that this was his family's birthday banquet. He didn't want things to escalate uncontrollably. After all, his father was still outside. Lu He. Slandering an ex is not the demeanor one should have. Song Hao-chen approached with a poised demeanor. I know you're still hung up on Lingyan. Since you two have already broken up, you should give each other some dignity. What do you think? Mr. Song truly lives up to the reputation of a young master from a prominent family. His grace and poise are indeed admirable. My smile remains unchanged. But if I remember correctly, ever since I arrived here, I haven't actively sought trouble with anyone. While Mr. Jung is fighting for you, and insulting me with his words, what were you doing? Why didn't you remind him to pay attention to his manners? Song Hao-chen's expression stiffened. Enough. Jung Long shielded Song Hao-chen behind him. I think Lu He is too talented to be just a box cutter. His silver tongue could even be used for comedy. But don't you think you look a bit like you're just angry out of embarrassment? Or as my cousin said, Lu still has unresolved feelings for my sister-in-law. As he spoke, he seemed to think of something and tapped his chin. Didn't they say that Lu Dai also has a new girlfriend? Why didn't he bring her this time? Jung Long thinks that my so-called girlfriend is either fake, or far inferior to Ms. Su. He foolishly waits for me to be embarrassed. Yet he didn't notice the sudden change in the Su brothers' expressions. I looked at Jung Long with a smile that wasn't quite a smile, as if I didn't understand the implications of his words. She can't come because she has something else to do. My ambiguous attitude only fueled Jung Long's arrogance. Even a busy person like Lu He can find time. Your new flame has no time. Can't show off. I pondered over this word. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The definition of my girlfriend. Mr. Jung seems to understand better than I do. What a facade. To take money out of a hand that's quick to strike. To get money if she comes forward. Jung Long was laughed at by me, knowing he was the one being laughed at. However, I've heard that Lu Nian used to take Lingyan with him everywhere. So why does he now have a different girlfriend? Just keep it hidden. Even if my sister-in-law is an illegitimate daughter, she still comes from a prestigious family. Lu Dai wouldn't just fall into despair over a heartbreak. He would start to indulge himself in self-destructive behavior. As he finished speaking, everyone present turned to look at me. Having watched the drama unfold until now, they were curious about my new girlfriend, especially since my performance was indeed somewhat concealing. Just then, the sound of high heels clicking on the floor came from the entrance, accompanied by a suppressed laughter from a woman. Miss, someone said that being with Mr. Lu is self-destructive for you. Upon hearing that voice, most people present were taken aback. Meanwhile, the Su siblings turned pale. Yun Meng walked up to me as if no one else was around. She intertwined her fingers with mine, and said pitifully, I can't believe I'm being provoked to this extent without you mentioning my name. I really can't hold my own here. I stared at her in a daze. Why did you come so early? The meeting is about to start. Yun Mengyao glanced at everyone. The meeting can be postponed. If my boyfriend is being bullied, I'm afraid I might lose control and take them all down. Everyone present. If this were said by someone else, it would definitely provoke scorn from the crowd. But she is Yun Mengyao. The moment they saw Yun Mengyao enter, everyone on the scene became uneasy. As Yun Mengyao was here to take over the family branch, the senior employees present have more or less seen her face. But who can tell them? They mistakenly thought that Lu would. The unpresentable girlfriend was Yun Mengyao, and her attitude towards Lu Yan. It left everyone shocked. After a long silence, the scene became completely lively. Lu He's girlfriend is actually Yun Mengyao. She really hid this well. I thought someone like Miss Yun would be. Even in a relationship, she would still be aloof and above it all. But she has this attitude in front of Lu Yan. Just now, Jun Long said he has fallen from grace. His girlfriend is unpresentable. It's really laughable. How can a child of the Su family compare with the daughter of the Yun family? Su Lingyan's expression, being compared, can no longer be described as just difficult. Yet she can't retort a single word. In the past, she relied on my affection to act strong in front of Yun Mengyao. Now that I'm gone, she realizes she is nothing in front of this person. Jun Long's face was a mix of green and white. However, more than that, it was disbelief. Even more shocked than him was Song Hao-chen, who had hardly spoken. Outsiders only know the 10 great families of the capital, but no one understands better than him, raised in the royal city. What does the Yun family represent? The higher the family ranking, the more obvious the gap becomes. Among the 10 major families, only the Shaw family can compete with the Yun family. Even the Ji family, ranked third, has a chasm-like gap with these two families. Moreover, Yun Mengyao is the only daughter of the old master of the Yun family, having been born late in his life. The sole daughter of the Yun family is cherished immensely by the family members. A person like this is something he wouldn't even dare to think about. When everyone has different thoughts, Suzy suddenly let out a cold laugh. You don't really think that just being together will guarantee a successful outcome, do you? Everyone present turned to look at me in unison. Even the Song family cares about the background of their daughter-in-law. Do you think that as the Yun family, a prestigious family, wouldn't care about social status? Suzy looked at me sarcastically. Then he said, you all think that the Yun family would want someone from an orphanage? As soon as he said this, everyone felt a bit in agreement. However, due to Yun Mengyao and me being present, few dared to show it. Only Zhang Long, undeterred by fear, chimed in. It's about knowing whether you are worthy in everything. Just luring someone doesn't count as an achievement. If their parents disapprove, you won't be able to enter either. You seem to know my parents better than I do. Yun Mengyao appeared to be smiling, but there was not a hint of joy in her eyes. Whether I can get through it or not is another matter. You two dare to speak like this in front of me? Is it because you think you have too long a life? Suzy and Zhang Long both recoiled slightly. What do you want to do? Yun Mengyao frowned and spoke. Slap them. Yes. Zhang Ting received the order, and immediately led the people behind her to grab Suzy and Zhang Long. The sound of slaps echoed. When the crisp sound of slaps rang out, no one reacted, until Suzy's cry of pain echoed. Su Linggan rushed over with all her strength. What are you doing? Zhang Ting's usual casualness vanished completely. Her gaze was sharp like a freshly sharpened knife. Miss Su, your younger brother can't keep his mouth shut. He should receive a lesson. If you meddle in things that don't concern you, then his suffering won't just be about his face. Do you understand? Ms. Su clenched her fists tightly. Red veins spread across her eyes. It's not that she cares too much about it. Yun Mengyao's actions completely tread on her face. Compared to Ms. Su's struggles, Song Haochen seemed not to hear Zhang Long's scream at all. He stood to the side, trying to minimize his presence. For a moment, everyone in the banquet hall didn't dare to breathe. All that could be heard were the slaps and the cries of the two people, until their faces were swollen from the blows, accompanied by a loud, angry shout at the door. What are you doing? Only then did Yun Mengyao signal for them to stop. Zhang Long's eyes were swollen from crying. After seeing Zhang Guozhang, he rushed into his arms, feeling wrong. Dad, they hit me. They dared to hit me on our territory. You have to get revenge for me. Sob sob sob. Even if Zhang Guozhang is cowardly, seeing his son's face swollen like a pig's head made him furious. Miss Yun, you must give me an explanation for this matter. Yun Mengyao maintained a calm expression. Instead of making me explain, you might as well ask your good son what he just said. Zhang Guozhang looked at the affectionate posture of Yun Mengyao and me. He then looked suspiciously at Zhang Long. When Yun Mengyao arrived, he already knew the nature of their relationship. He still remembers the scene of Zhang Long throwing a tantrum at the door. If he said something inappropriate in front of Yun Mengyao, he probably wouldn't be able to protect him either. Zhang Long felt somewhat guilty, but he still couldn't swallow his anger. Taking advantage of Zhang Guozhang's presence, he yelled unreasonably and forcefully. No matter what I said, she has no right to treat me like this, right? And did I say something wrong? Lu Yan came from an orphanage, so he isn't worthy of being the son-in-law of the Yun family. Zhang Guozhang's vision went dark upon hearing this. However, he hadn't reacted yet. A cold and indifferent female voice came from the entrance. Even our young master from the Shaw family isn't worthy of the Yun family. May I ask who is worthy then? You? Everyone turned their heads in response to the voice. Just then, they saw Miss Shaw from the Shaw family. Wan Ning walked in with a group of people. Many people in the banquet hall turned toward the new arrival. The attending Shaw Wanqing raised a question. Who is this? Unlike Yun Mengyao, who often oversees the branch in the deep market, Shaw Wanqing has always been in the capital city. Not many people on site know her, but there are some who do. Su Linggan heard a buzzing sound in her ears. The young master of the Shaw family. Yun was taken aback. She remembered what Shaw Wanqing had said about her younger brother being a bit younger than her. She glanced at Zhang Qing with surprise. I felt a flicker of surprise. My mind couldn't help but be perplexed. No way. Did Shaw Wanqing not care about the people present? At the moment when the paternity test results came out, she was about to explode. She wished she could confront him immediately. She needed to investigate right away. Those near the door automatically made way. Shaw Wanqing quickly walked up to my side. She pulled me into her embrace. Brother, I finally found you. Shen Bingbing, who had come along, timely remarked. The paternity test results are out. Congratulations, Lu He. You found your relatives. The expressions of everyone present were quite remarkable. It seems unexpected to attend a birthday banquet, to see so many good shows in succession. I was tightly embraced by Shaw Wanqing. I wasn't quite used to it, although this person is my biological relative from modern times. But we haven't really met that many times. Noticing Shaw Wanqing's excited and slightly trembling body, I still couldn't bring myself to push her away. I could only look helplessly at Yun Mengyao. As expected, the clouds are covered with spring frost. That is indeed her sister-in-law. Zhang Ting timidly leaned towards Yun Mengyao's ear. Miss Little Bear, if Mr. Lu is the son of the Shaw family, your romantic journey might have a few more stumbling blocks. Who doesn't know that the three sisters of the Shaw family in the capital are all obsessed with their younger brother? A child stolen at birth is likely to have a grim fate, but the Shaw family has never given up for 19 years. The three sisters were almost about to post a missing person notice on their foreheads. The same flight is missing. Their father just accepted this treatment. They didn't even seem to have looked for her at all. This shows how high his status is in the Shaw family. Yun Mengyao shot a fierce glance. Mouth. Did you see your own mountain already? Those who love to watch the spectacle are bold enough to remind a section of the road. Everyone present pretty much understood the situation. All those who don't understand will inquire. Inquiries revealed the identity of Sha Wanling. For a moment, a wave of heated discussion arose at the scene. Suzy and Zheng Long had a burning sensation on their faces. Not sure if it was from being hit, or from the mockery at the scene. Zheng Guojiang was feeling at ease for his son. For a big family, he has repeatedly offended the two major families of Yun and Sha, and he is feeling anxious. The main issue is that the Zheng family still wants to cooperate with the Sha family in their branch in the deep market. After Sha Wanning calmed down a bit, she released the person. She glanced at Yun Mengyao with a fleeting look. She conveyed a look that said they would sell this later. Then she turned to look at Zheng Guojiang. Yesterday I reviewed a new project proposal from the 1000th branch. It seems Zheng he also participated in the bidding. Zheng Guojiang's heart sank. His cheeks began to twitch involuntarily. Sha it's not. Sha Wanning raised her hand to interrupt him. You should understand what I mean. The Sha family will not cooperate with those who bullied my brother. Please take care of yourself. Although I had already guessed this outcome. After hearing Sha Wanning's words, Zheng Guojiang still had a defeated expression. Zheng Long knew he had caused trouble. Hesitantly, she tugged at his sleeve. He was slapped hard by Zheng Guojiang in response. It's all your fault. I thought that since you lost your mother at a young age, I spoiled you a bit more. But it turned out I spoiled you to the point of lawlessness. Sha Wanqing wasn't interested in other people's affairs. Instead, she turned her attention to Su Lingyan and her brothers, along with Song Haochen. Under Sha Wanqing's gaze, Song Haochen suddenly felt a chill run down his back. They all say the eldest daughter of the Sha family is cold and aloof. But everyone knows she has a vulnerable spot. It's her long-lost brother. So the moment he learned I was the young master of the Sha family, he desperately tried to recall if he had done anything inappropriate. What he did shouldn't have been too out of line, right? Sha Wanqing's gaze towards the Su siblings was as cold as winter. On the way here, I did some checking. To return to the Su family. To deceive and exploit my brother's feelings. Stepping on his hard work to climb up. You really are something. Even if filled with rage, Sha Wanqing spoke with an innate elegance and composure. But the more this happens, Su Lingyan became even more uncertain about her thoughts. Su Zi raised his hand to shield Su Lingyan behind him. With a swollen mouth, mixed with blood foam, he mumbled. What do you want to do? Even if it's for manipulation. At first, it was Lu Yan who actively approached my sister. If you don't believe me, ask her. As he spoke, he pointed. Sha Wanqing did not follow her instructions to ask me anything. She just continued from what she just said. I don't like to get physical. So you don't need to be on edge. Besides, my brother woke up early. The things you received from him have already been returned intact. I'm not about to go to extremes against two strays. Su Lingyan and her brother both sighed in relief. However, the next moment, they heard Sha Wanqing say, You want to return to the Su family? There's no way. Sha Wanqing said this while glancing at the silent Song Haochen beside her. If you want to form an alliance with the Song family, as long as the family head agrees, the Sha family will concentrate all its power against the Song family. Before you can become a bride of the Song family, the Song family will be completely banished from the capital. By then, let's see if you'll be recognized. The people present all gasped in shock. Song Haochen looked as if he had been hit with a heavy blow. Although Sha Wanqing was speaking to Su Lingyan, he knew this was also an indirect warning to him. If he didn't give Su Lingyan this opportunity, he could still protect the Song family. Meanwhile, the Su siblings were completely dumbfounded. Sha Wanqing intended to completely cut off their path back to the Su family. After Sha Wanqing finished speaking, she didn't even look at the expressions of those present. She reached out and linked arms with me. Her gaze was so indulgent it seemed as if she could drown someone in it. Little hat. The technique of changing faces in this moment seemed to shock those present. The onlookers couldn't help but click their tongues. I stared blankly at her. It seemed she hadn't recovered from what just happened. Since my reincarnation, I haven't experienced the feeling of being with family. Although Aunt Fang used to care for me extra. But there were so many children in the orphanage. It was hard for her to devote too much energy to me. Speaking of which, this is the first time in my 2 lifetimes experiencing the feeling of having family support. It didn't seem so bad. It's just that. The name Little Yan. It seems no one other than Aunt Fang has called me that. Even Yun Mengyao calls me Lu Yan. While I was lost in thought, Sha Wanqing called out to me again. Her eyes showed concern. I suddenly came back to my senses and lightly coughed, saying, Zhao Si, now that it's come to this price, I can no longer stay to attend any banquet. Both Sha Wanning and I are leaving. Yun Mengyao, who was almost here to cause trouble, certainly can't stay. After several of us left the Zheng family home, I was just about to introduce Yun Mengyao to Sha Wanning, when I saw Sha Wanning already turning her head. She looked at me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. So that boyfriend Miss Yun mentioned is actually online connection. It's my brother. Yun Mengyao subconsciously raised her delicate eyebrows. Her stiff lips pulled slightly. Sister Wan Ning. Sha Wan Ning's eyes narrowed, reflecting a hint of danger. Not yet. I allow you to call me sister now. Yun Mengyao looked at her pitifully. Sister Wan Ning. Sha Wan Ning wanted to say something more. Then the phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and said to me, It's Mom's call. I'm still not quite used to Sha Wan Ning talking to me in a sisterly tone. I wasn't mentally prepared to talk to my mother in this life. I consciously ignored the hints from Sha Wanqing in this regard. I only accepted it. You answer it. Sha Wanqing sighed. She stepped aside and answered the call. However, what I heard was not my mother's voice, but rather, it was my third sister, Sha Qingning. You didn't use our mom's phone to call, so you just won't answer my calls, right? Sha Wanqing pursed her thin lips. She replied without any psychological burden. You kept calling all day. I got annoyed and blocked you. Sha Qingning was speechless. Yang Wanyan beside her reminded anxiously. Quickly ask your older sister. Has the paternity test result come out? Is that your brother? Sha Qingning was also anxious to ask about her brother's situation. I can only keep this account for now. Did you hear what mom said? Has the result come out? Is he the brother? Sha Wanning glanced at me. Yes. Sha Qingning suddenly jumped up from the sofa. The butler quickly prepared the helicopter. Yang Wanyan also heard Sha Wanning's response. Instantly overwhelmed with joy, she burst into tears. Finally found it. Heaven has eyes. Finally found your brother. Sha Wanning knew that Sha Qingning would explode upon hearing this news. Quickly spoke to calm her down. You all don't come over yet. It seems like brother still cannot accept it for now. If you come over, it might scare him even more. Wait until I help him with his mindset. Then I'll take him back to the capital. Sha Qingning said excitedly. No, change it. Sha Wanning said coolly. Don't forget I'm still your sister. During Sha Wanning's phone call, Yun Meng Yao held my hand with a look of grievance. It seems your sister doesn't want us to be together. I reassuringly held her hand back. Don't worry. She may have just found me. It's hard to accept for a moment. But no matter what, I will always stand by your side. Yun Meng Yao reached out to hug me tightly. A sly smile flashed in her eyes. As long as you don't leave me. Zhang Ting rolled her eyes dramatically. Why does she feel that her lady is so manipulative? Elegant family of the capital. After hanging up the phone, Sha Qingning looked at her own person and asked, Ar Hong. She suspected that Sha Weining was actually hers, saying that was just to want to be alone, to cultivate feelings with her own brother first. Your sister is right. Although Yang Wanyan also wanted to see her son quickly, after hearing Sha Weining's words, she still had many concerns. Your brother was kidnapped at birth. Over the years, who knows how much he has suffered. He must blame us for not protecting him well. Let's not push him too hard. Let him digest this fact first. Wait until your sister has a talk with him. It won't be too late for us to see him afterward. We've waited for so many years. A little longer won't make a difference. Even the mother has sent a message. Sha Qingning could only obediently nod. At that moment, Yang Wanyan retrieved the phone number of the third sister, Sha Xiaoxiao. Sha Qingning immediately reached out to cover it. You should call Xiaoxiao. Sha's mother asked in confusion. The sister doesn't know this news yet. A mischievous smile crept onto Sha Qingning's lips. If we tell her the news about her brother coming back, don't you worry she'll come back to seek affection, Mom? Sha's mother chuckled. You're thinking too much. The sister misses her brother just as much as both of you do. How could she possibly compete for his affection? Sha Qingning continued to coax gently. What I mean is, don't you worry she'll come back to wait with us for her brother's affection, Mom? After all, you should know better. That guy is really clingy. Once my brother comes back, he'll probably be taken over by her. How are we supposed to bond with him then? Mom Sha's expression became serious now. She nodded. You're not wrong. It's hard-earned for Xiaoxiao to finally have a breakthrough. Let's allow her to gain some experience outside first. Shenzhen Market. A fine banquet turned into this. Zheng Guojiang had no intention of holding another event. After my group left, he just smiled and sent the remaining crowd away. Then he didn't even look at the culprits present. He turned and went upstairs. Zheng Long looked at Su Zi's pig-like face. He knew he wasn't in any better shape. However, when he saw the strands of hair, perfectly in place on Song Haochen, he suddenly realized something. When those people were bullying me just now, what are you doing? At least Su Lingen has resisted for Su Zi. To put it bluntly, I was also standing up for Song Haochen. As a result, when I was being beaten, he just stood by and watched. Song Haochen's expression was somewhat unnatural. I didn't ask you to say those things. Besides, that is Yun Mengyao. I just wanted to help you. But I was powerless despite my intentions. Enough. Zheng Long shouted at him. It's because you're afraid of Yun Mengyao. He can help me call someone, right? Consider it me being blind for helping you in vain. After saying that, he turned around and left as well. In the blink of an eye, only Song Haochen and the three siblings of Su Lingen were left on the scene. Song Haochen was about to leave, when Su Lingen reached out and grabbed his wrist. Haochen. Even though he was just called by name, Song Haochen understood what she was trying to express. Lingen, can you give me a moment to calm down? Su Lingen felt a sudden panic deep inside. Even though she had a bad feeling in her heart, she still wanted to try to hold on to him. We have already overcome Dad's obstacles. Are you still afraid of a threat from Sha Wanqing? Su Zi chimed in as well. Yeah, brother-in-law. Well, that probably means she's just talking. The Song family has a huge foundation. She can't just decide to cut ties like that. Alright. Song Haochen shook off Su Lingian's hand. Can you please not make it difficult for me? If it were just a matter of background, my dad might still be willing to indulge me. But to bet the whole Song family on myself, let alone he wouldn't agree. I wouldn't agree either. Before coming to the Shenzhen market, my dad had already chosen a school abroad for me, to further my studies. I'm sorry. Let's break up. After saying that, she didn't look at the expressions of the siblings and turned to leave. After Song Haochen left, Su Zi stomped his feet in frustration. Truly a reliable one. Then he turned to Su Lingen and asked, Sister, what should we do now? Is it really impossible to return to the Su family? Su Lingen remained silent. Her expression shifted between light and dark. After an uncertain amount of time, she finally clenched her fist as if making a determined resolution. Now there's only this path left. Due to the presence of Sha Wanqing, my group did not choose to return to the residence where Yan Mengyao was. Instead, we went to my place at Dewan. Looking at the exquisitely decorated luxury villa, Sha Wanqing felt a wave of comfort in her heart, feeling fortunate that I'm doing well now. I couldn't dare to think about the life I used to have. However, seeing Yan Mengyao follow in, she raised her guard again in her heart. Just send her home, and that's it. What are you coming in for? This time, Yan Mengyao didn't say anything. I held her hand and looked at Sha Wanqing, saying, I think I need to clarify something. Yan Mengyao is my girlfriend, and we have grown up now. We have the right to decide how to be together. If reconnecting with family means interfering with our relationship, making her suffer, then Miss Sha should just leave. You can see that too. I can live well even without family. A period of time. 1 week. Because I suddenly decided to be with her. The reason for being together is not vague. She has always cherished this relationship anxiously. When my family shows up, she will be manipulative. She is also afraid that I will give her up. But now, I actually recognize my family for her. Does this mean that she holds a place in his heart? If Yan Mengyao's mood right now is like a warm spring in March, then Sha Waning's mood at this moment is cold and bitter. Miss Xiaoyan especially called her Miss. It made her feel icy inside. However, her more overwhelming feeling was shock amidst her cold anger. As far as I know, didn't you just break up with Su Lingen? The weather has been like this for a few days. Your feelings for this guy have gone this deep. I don't expect others to understand my sudden change in favoritism. After all, such shocking matters of past and present lives. Even Yan Mengyao is kept in the dark. How could I possibly explain this to others? In my past life, Yan Mengyao gave me the life-saving medicine. She wouldn't force me to separate. At my beckoning. After I, still dragging the body that's already fallen apart, she avenged me for the revenge I couldn't take. And she died with me in loyalty. But where are my relatives? They didn't come to recognize me in their past lives. Although in this life, I don't know what the reason is. That led them to find me. But their position in my heart cannot be compared to that of Yan Mengyao. I'm very sorry. I looked at Sha Wan and replied, I still stand by what I said. If you want to acknowledge me, please respect my choice. Sha Wanning took a deep breath. A way that is flexible and adaptable. Older sister is wrong. Don't be angry. I'm not intentionally trying to make things difficult for her. So what Yan Yan means is, we don't. You just agreed to acknowledge the relationship. I choked a little. I thought to myself, this person really knows how to take advantage of the situation. Sha Wanning noticed my hesitation. A heart started beating again. You also know not to underestimate. Mengyao can't possibly stay in the deep market forever. If you want to be with her, it's only a matter of time before coming to the capital. Am I being used by Sha Wanning? This guy just found me annoying. Turned around and used me to persuade me to acknowledge the relationship. Truly devious to the core. I slightly pursed my lips. I had thought about this question before. Moreover, the company I founded is now vastly different. There are hardly any key talents in the company from the deep market. I have long wanted to relocate the company to the capital. In the previous life, the timing was ripe. It was also to conveniently help Su Lingen manage Tianyu. I moved the company to the capital. In this life, her family and loved ones are in the capital. I have no reason not to move. Thinking of this, I nodded. Wait for me a while. To handle the relocation of the company. To receive my affirmative response. Sha Waning immediately excitedly hugged me. Sister will help you. Seeing this, Yan Mengyao's expression changed. When Sha Waning finally let go of the person, she declared as she held my hand. It's hard to breathe in. The furniture person has been dismissed. The furniture? Big sister, find a guest room to sleep in. After saying this, she pulled me upstairs. Sha Waning watched our figures. An inexplicable feeling of melancholy arose. However, how long can this sadness last? She then regained her spirits. Right now, the younger brother is just distant from her, waiting to cultivate feelings. Once her sister's position is secured, she must look good. Yun has no idea. She's already been targeted by her older sister-in-law. As soon as we entered the bedroom, she slammed me against the door and kissed me fiercely. I shook my head to avoid her advance. Yun Mengyao nuzzled against my neck. Her voice sounded so wrong. I was jealous. I was taken aback but then burst into laughter. That's my sister. Yun Mengyao's tone was sour. Then she's also a woman. I reached out and rubbed her head. I leaned in and gave her a kiss like I would to a child. Is it any better? Yun Mengyao licked her lips. She enjoyed it secretly but still pretended to be tough. How could I not understand her? But I still indulged her completely. So what do you want to do? Yun Mengyao looked at me shyly. Do what I wanted to do in the evening. The next morning, I rarely wanted to sleep in. I heard a slightly hurried knock. I pushed myself back under the covers with one hand. It's obvious that it's tough outside. I could argue with Sha Wanqing reasonably. No compromise. But I couldn't manage to do it without blushing. And without making my heart race. Not jumping made Yunming County inquire. I quickly tidied myself up. I opened the door and looked at Sha Wanqing, asking, Is there something you need, sister? Sha Wanqing paused. Just as she was about to speak, her words got stuck. She stared at me in a daze, as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. I struggled to understand her excitement. I had decided this yesterday. Since I had decided to recognize my relatives, there's no need to keep up appearances. Otherwise, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to address Sha Wanqing. Thinking of this, I called out again without any psychological burden. As a result, the next moment I was hugged into someone's arms. Sha Wanqing's voice was filled with intense excitement and joy. Sister is here. I sighed helplessly. I don't understand why this person likes hugging so much. Although the embrace had no hint of intimacy. But my dear one is really jealous. I don't even need to turn around to look. I just know that someone is in bed right now. I clapped my hands and patted Sha Wanqing's shoulder to change the topic. What brings you to find me? Remembering the purpose of my visit, Sha Wanqing let go of me. Her expression also turned serious. Shu Mingwei rang. I was a bit surprised. Sha Wanqing thought I was not aware of my place. Sha Ning thought I didn't recognize the powder. Much more. Mingwei is the son of the main wife of the family head. He is the half-brother of Su Lingyan. Of course, I know who Su Mingwei is. But her actions caught me off guard. After all, in the previous life when he acted, that person was living quite well. Moreover, I called him just 2 days ago. Suddenly hearing news from him, I can't help but feel affected. At this thought, I reached out and grabbed Sha Waning's sleeve. How did she manage that? The head of the Su family intends to cover it up. Sha Waning held my hand, transmitting her warmth, conveying one's own temperature. But in this world, where can there be a wall that doesn't leak? What can be confirmed now is, he was involved with a woman at a club. The head of the Su family probably finds it embarrassing. That's why he's desperately trying to hide it. Although Sha Waning spoke in an ambiguous way, anyone could understand what that meant. Su Mingwei spends his days being unproductive, living a life of indulgence. It's only a matter of time before I'm drained of all energy. But in his previous life, this moment had not yet reached that level. Unless, Yun Mengyao walked over after changing her clothes. She glanced at my expression and then spoke to Sha Waning. You've just cut off Su Lingyan's way back to the Su family. Turning around, Su Mingwei was gone. This matter isn't that simple. The pipeline. Sha Wan raised her eyebrows and said, I also thought about that point. But even the head of the Su family has gone to great lengths to cover this up. They even went so far as to expose someone overnight. It will be quite difficult to find evidence. Moreover, at this point, she paused and turned to look at me. Su Lingyan and her 2 sons have now been taken back to Su 7. Ever since I heard Su Mingwei's news, I anticipated that there would be such a result. For the head of the Su family, the most important thing is still the Su family's assets. Even if Su Mingwei's actions are unusual. Right now, only Su Lingyan can inherit the Su family. Sha Wan Ning saw my furrowed brows. She gently helped me smooth my brows. Those who have bullied you, sister definitely won't let it go. Even if she returns to the Su family, what can she do? It's just dragging the Su family down with her. Once we return to the capital, sister will help you deal with the Su family. I shook my head and pulled Sha Wan Ning's hand down. You shouldn't interfere in this matter. Whether it's dealing with Su Lingyan or the Su family, I'll handle it myself. Yesterday was the first time I experienced the feeling of being supported by family. And there were so many people present. So when Sha Wan Ning used threats to cut off Su Lingyan's escape route, I didn't speak up to stop it. But seeking revenge is more interesting when I do it myself. Especially for such a deep-seated blood feud. Otherwise, what is the meaning of my rebirth? Although I didn't expect Su Mingwei's actions. But Su Lingyan isn't that easy to deal with. I won't fall into her hands again in this lifetime. No direct translation could refer to child in context. A hint of excitement curved at the corner of my lips. Turns out I was still afraid that Su Lingyan wouldn't be entertained. Now there's definitely something to play with. Sha Wanqing hesitantly asked, between you and Su Lingyan, is it really just a matter of feelings? I countered, kicking the ball back. Sister, what do you think? Without waiting for a response, I sneered again. As long as I'm here, she can forget about getting what she wants. Even if she gets it, she'll sooner or later have to spit it out. Chong Ning turned her head to look at Yun Mengyao. Sha turned to look at Lu. Chong Ning turned her head to look at Yun Mengli, only to find she was just as bewildered. But both of them understood. The conflict between me and is definitely not as simple as it seems on the surface. However, I had no intention of stating it clearly. They asked. In the following days, I was busy handling the company's address paperwork. A week later, I took care of the relevant matters in the deep market. I returned to the capital city with Sha Wanqing and Yun Mengyao. Mama Sha and Sha Qingning know I'm back today. I couldn't sleep all night from excitement. During the day, I stayed at home and didn't go anywhere. I wished I could see them in just a few seconds. A loud noise from a helicopter landing echoed in the garden. Mama Sha and Sha Qingning were anxious. My heart was instantly filled with a refreshing stream. I quickly perked up and headed toward the flowers. Sha Qingning's height and long legs gave her an advantage at that moment. After a few steps, she left Mama Sha behind. Ignoring her mother's resentment from behind, Sha Qingning walked quickly to the garden. Her eyes seemed to have radar for scanning. She headed straight for me. I had just stepped off the helicopter. I hadn't even taken a good look at my surroundings. Suddenly, a gentle breeze with a subtle scent of perfume hit me. Sha Qingning stepped forward and hugged me tightly. Sister, I finally see you. Hearing that call of sister, my eager hands that were ready to grab finally relaxed a bit. At the same time, I couldn't help but doubt in my heart. Is the love hug among the Sha sisters a family tradition? Yun Mengyao watched us in our close embrace. Once again, I clenched my fists. Yang Wanyan stepped onto the soft lawn, arriving a bit late. Yan Yan wants mom to take a look at you. Before coming, Sha Wanqing had told them my name. Plus, there hasn't been time to give me a name. The child was just kidnapped. So she simply started calling me that. Sha Wanqing looked at Sha Qingning displeased. Didn't you hear what mom said? And you made the little one uncomfortable. Only then did Sha Qingning let me go. The moment she saw my face, Mother Shaw's tears began to fall unconsciously. She trembled as she gently touched my cheek. Gu is my mother. Yan Yan, I am your mother. A strange feeling rose up within me. I thought I was facing family who were practically strangers. I couldn't empathize at all. But seeing the woman in front of me in tears, I actually wanted to reach out and wipe them away. Perhaps this is the bond of blood. Mother Zhang noticed my silence. Mother Shaw saw my silence and didn't know what to say. With a heart full of sorrow, she stepped forward and embraced me. It's Mom's job to protect you well. You must be. I awkwardly patted her back gently. I've been doing very well. Although I was still young when I was in the orphanage, there wasn't much room for me to show my abilities. My life was quite difficult. But as I grew a little older, I was able to become self-sufficient. Mother Shaw was taken aback by my response. Instantly, I was overwhelmed with joy and cried. But I couldn't quite believe that I was doing well after returning. She only thought I was comforting her. She felt guilty for my thoughtfulness and understanding. Before, my mother was able to help. In the past, it was all about building. Fortunately, I found you now. In the future, I will definitely compensate you generously. My second sister too. She took out the prepared meeting gift and handed it to me. My second sister's supplementary card. There is a limit on the shares. It can be swiped without a password. These past few days, she exhausted her brain but couldn't think of a gift for the meeting. After all, everything used in life. Almost all the summer cards were given. To increase the meeting. The unlimited money is there. Even if Sha Wanqing was fully prepared, so what? From now on, whenever my brother buys something, he will use her card. This second sister of hers still worries about never turning her life around. However, Sha Qingning thought quite beautifully. The card she handed over was returned in the next moment. I held my head and said, I don't lack money. Sha Qingning thought I was too shy to ask, and then carded me. Why are you being polite to the second sister? You're so polite. I helplessly returned it again. I'm serious. I really don't lack money. Even if you give it to me, I won't use it. Long-term environmental syndrome. Long-term environmental living. Seeing Sha Wanning's faint smile, suddenly, it felt like it had been given to the world. It was also my own idea. She's high and aloof on the outside but empty inside. How could it not be? In an instant, Sha Qingning's breath surged in her chest. She turned her head and glared fiercely at her assistant, Zhang Ying, who was following her. This idea came from that toxic person. Zhang Ying swallowed hard. She felt like her head was in danger. Mom Sha ignored the sister's subtle hints. She opened the wooden box she had been holding. I took out a jade pendant and put it around my neck. This is a meeting gift prepared by Mom. Yan Yan needs to wear it often in the future. I looked down at the ancient king pendant embedded in it. Unconsciously, my heart felt heavier. Such a thing as reincarnating with memories. Absurd and bizarre things happened to me. I would also believe in some things. In past lives, I would have visited some ancient temples. If I am mistaken, this jade pendant that Mom Sha gave me, the pendant should contain the other person's blood and hair. It can help me avert disasters in the rest of my life. But all the bad luck will be transferred to the other person. I raised my hand to take the pendant off. But I was stopped by Mom Sha's hand. Yan Yan, please don't reject Mom, okay? Looking at Yang Wanyan's pleading, tearful eyes, I suddenly felt the pendant in my hand was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. After a long pause, I finally hoarsely replied, I will treasure it well. And it would be best not to let myself get hurt. A warm family reunion. Yun Mengyao, who was standing nearby, is a person. Since Mama Sha and Sha Qingning arrived, their gaze shifted from my face. Of course, they noticed her. They would only think she was just hitching a ride. At that moment, a voice filled with surprise and cheer came through. I heard that my son-in-law has returned. Where is he? Upon hearing this voice, several people immediately jumped. 1. Then I saw Yun Mengyao's mother slowly, pulling over. Wu Shuman seemed to not even see her own daughter. Not glancing sideways, she walked past Yun. She headed straight towards me. Is this my son-in-law? He looks quite handsome. Sha Qingning quickly pulled her younger brother behind her. She looked at Sister Wu with great vigilance. My brother just found me. What is it? How come it's you? I just remembered I forgot to introduce Yun Mengyao. I hurriedly walked around Sha Qingning to her side. I took her hand and stepped forward. You all should know each other by now. I want to introduce her to you. She's my girlfriend. Wu Shuman immediately couldn't stop smiling. Look at that. Even without the adults intervening to matchmake us, Xiao Wei and Mengyao would still end up together. This is fate destined by the heavens. She already knew about our relationship before coming here. Otherwise, she wouldn't have called me son-in-law as soon as she arrived. Thinking this, she opened a brocade box. She took out an antique-looking ring. A ring engraved with peculiar totems. She pulled my hand to put the ring on, while joyfully saying, it's a meeting gift for my daughter-in-law. Sha Qingning saw this ring that symbolizes the Yun family's heritage. In surprise, I quickly pulled him back. You are 19 years old this year. Second sister is telling you. Women have a good thing in their stock. Don't be fooled by her. Got it. The girls present fell silent. I was also somewhat speechless. She hesitated and asked back. Aren't you also a woman? Sha Qingning showed no embarrassment at all. It's a classic case of hurting 1,000 enemies while harming yourself by hundreds. It's just because second sister is a woman. Just a bit. Is second sister afraid you'll suffer? Yang Wanyan shot a glance at Sha Qingning. Do you think everyone is like you? Sha Wanqing echoed in agreement. That person from the Su family is a warning. If you still don't know how to restrain yourself, do you want Mom to come back too? Do you want Mom to return? It was as if they were looking at a monster, watching Sha Wanqing. Friends. Brother's girlfriend. You actually are good. This guy has changed his nature. Sha Wanqing thought that she would definitely oppose. But the scene where I defended Yun Mengyao was still vivid in my mind. Moreover, after spending these past few days together, she realized I respond well to gentleness but not to harshness. She definitely won't act like Sha Qingning and keep dancing on the minefield. Then, let's allow her to be pleased for a while. Suppress the malicious thoughts in my heart. Sha Wanqing showed a rather helpless expression. But those two are already together. We can't just break up the couple, can we? The urgency. It's still important to boost the younger brother's favorability. Let the evil people be taken care of by my own second sister. It's really a long breath. One's own hair. 4. Mama Sha found the scene of the two sisters at odds quite unappealing. Thinking of Qing's rules. Walked towards Yun with a face full of guilt. Hope you don't mind square root. Kef. You say that and it's already born. Wu Shuman didn't seem unhappy at all. Do I look like someone who would hold a grudge against a child? Moreover, it's hard to not know that these three sisters are all brothers' fans. It's normal for them to not accept it right away. They will get used to it over time. Liver. How long have they been together? They might break up. It's uncertain if they'll break up. Shut up. Yang Wanyan shot another glare at Sha Qingning, looking at sister Wu Yudao, then turned to look at Wu Shuman and said, I've watched Mengyao grow up. Her temperament and character are both fine. I have no objections. Wu Shuman happily hugged Mama Sha. I knew you were the best. That demeanor is just like the young people nowadays with their best friends. The young people acting cute are no different. Mama Sha changed the subject. Mama Zhang spoke in the first segment. Find it back. People interacting. And also dealing with family. Plus, they're young. And both kids are young. We don't plan to let him get married so early. I thought you wanted to. Wu Shuman laughed while patting her chest to calm herself down. Do you think I'm such an unreasonable person? More milk. How many children do you have? I've seen it all. How could you underestimate someone right after they return? To deprive you of the chance to be together with your child. And even if they get married, Mengyao would still be living in your house. Mengyao, who was clearly arranged, looked speechless. Mama Sha chuckled while glancing at the time. She turned and instructed the butler, saying, to have someone start setting up the banquet venue. Since she has returned, it's also time to hold a family reunion banquet. The butler immediately nodded. Yes, madam. Yang Wanyan looked at me again. Yan Yan, do you have any friends you want to invite? Mom had someone deliver the invitation. I paused for a moment. I also know that such things are inevitable. I don't have too many friends in the capital. I'm not sure if they'll have time to come. I'll call them myself to ask. Yang Wanyan nodded. Sha Weining took out her phone. I contacted the stylist to come over. Later, I'll have Mengyao get dressed up a bit. To save trouble for everyone. Wu Shuman said as she placed a brocade box containing the ring in my palm. Meeting gifts are exchanged frequently during celebrations. I don't know the meaning of this ring. But just by its quality, I can tell it's not an ordinary ring. I looked at Yun Mengyao, unsure of what to decide. I saw her nodding at me. Sha Qingning was fuming beside me, staring in disbelief. She couldn't prevent this exchange resembling a betrothal token. Seeing me accept the ring, the weight in Wu Shuman's heart instantly lifted. She raised her hand. She smiled and said her goodbyes. We'll be back soon. After Yun Mengyao's family left, I followed my family back to the main villa. As Sha Wanning led me upstairs, Sha Qingning pulled her mother, who was about to follow, aside. How could you agree to let your brother be with that girl from the family? You know how the Yun family is. She paused at this point, but the meaning she wanted to convey was very clear. If it weren't for the fact that she wouldn't risk being hated by me, she was trying hard to stop them from. Sha's mother also looked somewhat anxious, but she still said, and just like your sister said, those two are already together. I can't be the one to break them apart. Sha Qingning was silent for a long time, her voice a bit gritted. Whether that girl is worth it, it depends on her future performance. I'm willing to support them, even if it's just a small gesture. That's it. Meanwhile, I was completely unaware of the conversation happening between the two in the building. After following Sha Weining to her room, I was stunned by the sight before me as soon as I entered. If I hadn't heard Sha Weining say this is a room, I would have thought this was an entire loft. What surprised me even more was the array of items. A closet with everything you could want. Given my current social status, I can't say I've never seen this before, but I wouldn't turn a primarily sleeping space into such a lavish one. Don't underestimate this. It's set up by your sister for you. I like to come back. As the helmswoman of the entire Sha group, Sha Wanning doesn't look like a high-ranking person at all now. She's like a large pet seeking praise from her brother. Like a large cute pet seeking compliments. I looked at her awkwardly. Do you want me to switch careers and open a mall? Sha Wanning couldn't help but laugh. She didn't expect that I would too. She pointed at several rows of transparent cabinets and said, this area is for clothes. You can first look through which piece you want. The shoes that match the clothes are over there. Then she pointed at the adjacent wall. Afterwards, she glanced at her watch. Let me go ask the stylist when they will arrive. Finished changing. To avoid encountering Yang Wanyan and Sha Qingning who came together, Sha Weining paused for a moment. Not knowing what she thought, she turned her head and looked around. Little Shao has returned. It shouldn't be. Sha Qingning crossed her arms and replied seriously. I think Lil Shao is quite difficult to deal with. Just that mother told her about finding the brother. To avoid any misunderstandings. What do you think, big sister? They are all foxes. How could Sha Weining not guess Sha Qingning's little thoughts? However, this is exactly what she wanted. Sha Weining reached out and patted Sha Qingning's shoulder, praising her. You are still very thoughtful. Meanwhile, at the border of Wagwo, A woman dressed in black camouflage had a blade of grass in her mouth, rolling up a portrait in her hand. Should we go to Lin Country next? The man beside her nodded, his eyes full of the weariness of travel and hardship. I don't know when we will find the Duke's wife and child. A man with a scarred face gulped down half a bottle of water. He raised his hand to wipe his mouth. Isn't the lady of the Shaw family from Wagwo quite similar? Why not take him back for the Duke to see? Are you stupid? The man next to him with a gun hit him on the back of the head. The Duke has said. He only has one son. The Shaw family has 3 daughters. No sons. No matter how similar they look, it doesn't meet the requirements. What about that one from the deep city? The scarlet-faced man rubbed the back of his head and glared. The boy's eyes are quite similar to those in the portrait. As soon as he finished speaking, he got hit again. That boy is only 19 years old. Did it hurt when you hit him? Did you make me stupid by hitting me? The scarred face wore the fiercest expression while saying the most cowardly words. I mean, could he possibly be the Duke's son? Why don't we take some of her hair back? So you mean to say that the Duke's wife is dead? Otherwise, how did he become an orphan? The man in black camouflage spat out the dogtail grass from his mouth. And that boy has eyes just like. If there are any similarities, we should do a paternity test. We would end up completely plucking the Duke bald. The man said as he unfolded the portrait again. What era is this? Still using portraits to find someone? If only there were a photo. We could also find something. Let's go, let's go. The Duke has been hypnotized. He remembers that he has a wife and children. Just drawing a rough outline would be good enough. Instead of complaining here, it would be better to hurry up and search. In the blink of an eye, it was evening. The entire Shaw family was brightly lit. The servants and subordinates all carried out their duties. They were extremely busy. The banquet venue was set up in the outdoor garden. A long table was covered with a white cloth. Various exquisite snacks are displayed on top. There is a champagne tower that changes colors with the lights. Vivid flowers line both sides of the red carpet. It extends outward from the archway. The entrance is beautifully adorned. The entire banquet venue is filled with a joyful atmosphere. It is also stylish. At a certain time, luxury cars keep arriving outside the Shaw family's gate. People from the capital's elite circle are rushing over. The Shaw family's status is well established here. People make their entrance. Those who received the invitation have gone cold. People at the scene are chatting and laughing. Of course, the conversation revolves around this young master who has just been recognized. I really didn't expect it. The Shaw family could actually find this child. Who has seen what he looks like? Who knows? But I think it's best not to have too high expectations. Isn't the lesson from the He family right there? The biological son they found is both rough and ugly. He can't even use a knife and fork. He radiates a poverty-stricken air of someone who has never seen the world. After the family recognition banquet, the head of the He family didn't let that child go out again. Wherever he goes, he brings his adopted son. This boy from the Shaw family has been wandering among the common people since birth. He probably isn't even as good as that one from the He family. My brother isn't as bad as everyone says. A young man dressed in a light blue suit walked in holding a champagne glass. It's not that Dad doesn't take her out. It's just that he himself doesn't like crowded places. The one who came is none other than He Chaoshong, the adopted daughter of the He family, speaking ill of others behind their backs, and got overheard by them. The several people present looked somewhat awkward, but this person didn't seem angry, not stepping on their own toes. He Chaoshong, of course, wasn't angry. Moreover, young Master Shaw might not be as awful as everyone claims. What exactly is he like? You'll know when he makes his appearance. His seemingly protective words are basically meaningless. Instead, he brought back a topic that everyone had just dropped. Just as everyone was judging the young master of the Shaw family for being so rough and ugly, the sound system suddenly switched the melody, accompanied by Shaw Mama's gentle yet authoritative voice. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. The crowd turned their heads in response to the voice. They saw Shaw Mama and Wu Shuman walking over while holding a boy's hand. Meanwhile, the others from the Shaw and Yun families walked behind the 3 like bodyguards. The close ties between the Shaw and Yun families in the high society of the capital are no secret. Therefore, the appearance of the 2 families together did not elicit any surprise from those present. However, upon seeing the true appearance of the Shaw family's young master, everyone became unsettled. In fact, for quite a while after the 2 families appeared, there was hardly any sound at the scene. The moment they saw us, everyone present couldn't help but hold their breath. A crowd of people was dazzled for quite a while. When they finally came to their senses, it instantly erupted into chaos. This is the young master that the Shaw family just found. Isn't he just too handsome? His aura is simply amazing. Who just said he was uncouth and ugly? Isn't that a slap in the face? The young masters present all grew up in wealthy families. I've never seen anyone stand out more than the Shaw family's young master. Hearing the crowd's astonishment at the central song information, Yun Mengyao and my 2 older sisters narrowed their eyes. As for the wealthy families being compared, many of the young masters looked stern. When I first appeared, they were incredibly jealous, not to mention being pointed out like this in public. He Chaoshong, on the other hand, appeared to admire openly and generously. Looking at my face, which is almost aggressively handsome, smiling, he began to praise. Young Master Shaw is indeed stunning. The moment you appeared, all of us brothers felt embarrassed. As soon as he said this, someone teased. Our talented genius is feeling ashamed too. When it comes to looks and demeanor, young Master Shaw truly has no rivals. But when it comes to artistry, no one in the entire capital can compare to you. The young man with dyed pink hair chimed in. Our brother Chao is indeed a master. A closed-door disciple of the Gukan master Wen Song. At a young age, he became the vice president of the Capital Gukan Association. He's not just relying on looks to make a living. Those around were in shock. He Chao Shang is a disciple of Wen Song. They already knew about this. However, the vice president of the Capital Gukan Association, He Chao Shang, said with a bit of embarrassment, "It hasn't been long since I was elected. It's mainly thanks to the chairman's favor and the support of the members. But in terms of Gukan skills, I'm still far behind compared to my master." "How old is your master?" "Moreover, he is a national treasure in the Gukan community. Who can compare to him? Having achieved so much at your age is already quite impressive." "That's right. Being promoted means that young master he has further improved his Gukan skills. Doesn't that mean we should see a demonstration? I haven't heard you play in such a long time. The last time I heard you play the Gukan was at the Liang family's birthday banquet." He Chao Shang quickly waved his hand. "Today is young Master Shah's banquet. How can I overshadow the host? If there's going to be a performance, it should definitely be young Master Shah himself." As he spoke, he turned to look at me. Then he covered his mouth, realizing he had spoken out of turn. His tone was somewhat uneasy. Young Master Shah has such great demeanor. He must have some talents to back it up. After saying this, the faces of both families, Yun and Shah, looked a bit unpleasant. Sha Qingning narrowed her eyes and glanced at He Chao Shang. Then, as if amused by her anger, she looked at Sha Weining. "Eldest sister, have I been seeming a bit easier to talk to lately? People are even daring to provoke my brother. Her presence has a price. When she is truly angry, her voice is often very soft. It is only family that really hear anything else. Others do not. But that soft voice carries a heavy pressure. It heralds the silence before the storm." I comfortingly squeezed her hand. Then I turned to look at He Chao Shang. "I have skills to rely on. But my greatest strength is also the Gukan. Young master, are you interested in listening?" Sha Qingning stared blankly at her hand. Excited, she even forgot my name. "My brother, he. Just now, did he hold my hand?" She didn't hear clearly. Everyone else present heard it clearly. Everyone perked up in an instant. This is definitely a setup for something. He Chao Shang raised an eyebrow. His expression, however, showed some indifference. "Young Master Shah said you're skilled in the Gukan." I smiled. "Is there a problem?" "Of course not." He Chao Shang looked like he regretted not meeting sooner. "It's usually hard for me to find someone who understands me." Knowing young Master Shah shares the same interest, I was too surprised to react. I originally didn't plan to show off in young Master Shah's territory. But after hearing young Master Shah say he was skilled in the Gukan, I got a little bit eager. Would young Master Shah be willing to spar with me? I raised an eyebrow as well. This person is serious. Though I was born into a military family in my past life, my mother came from a scholarly family. When I was praised as the #1 talent in the capital, this person's ancestors probably hadn't even been born yet. It was different from what I had imagined. The moment He Chao Shang said he wanted to spar, the people on site began to worry about me. After all, in their eyes, He Chao Shang is already a person of a high level. Isn't sparring with him just asking for trouble? They thought. As long as I don't act foolish, they should all refuse. However, the next moment, they heard me speak to He Chao Shang. Then I will not stand on ceremony. It turns out this person really is overestimating himself. What a waste of such a handsome face. Summer's mother and Wu Shuman also looked at me in confusion, afraid of the little hat. I gave them a reassuring look and then asked, "Do you have a Gukan at home?" Sha Wan Ning hesitated. "Sister, I didn't know you knew classical studies, so I didn't prepare for this." I gave her a look that said, "What use is that to you?" At the same time, my mind began to race. The rejection of the meeting gift in the afternoon had almost become her heartache. Now a new idea would emerge. Thinking of this, she took out her phone and sent a text to Zhang Ying. He Chao Shang observed the interactions among several people. Fearing that I would use the lack of a Gukan as an excuse to say forget it, he quickly proposed. "It's simple. The He family isn't too far from here. I just had someone bring my Gukan over." After saying that, he turned around and made a phone call. The efficiency of people from wealthy families is also high. Before long, a beautifully polished Gukan was delivered. He Chao Shang cradled the Gukan. He placed it carefully on the makeshift table. He turned to look at me. "Young Master Shah, who goes first?" I lifted my chin slightly. "Then I'll go first and embarrass myself." He Chao Shang slowly took his seat. His fingers lightly rested on the surface of the Gukan as he plucked the strings. He truly exuded the charm of a talented scholar. Everyone's gaze focused on him. They silently speculated what he would play. It wasn't until a series of melodious sounds flowed from the Gukan that they realized the piece he was going to perform. Then, he became excited. "It's a bandit. It's Wen Songyi's famous song. This piece is really beautiful. Even someone like me, who doesn't know much about the Gukan, listens to it often. His playing is indeed better than before. I used to think this little bandit played a bit awkwardly. Now he is already so skilled. No wonder he was promoted to vice president of the Imperial Capital Gukan Association. This piece is not something just anyone can master. Young master he can play to this extent. Truly worthy of being Wen Songyi's only heir." He Chao Shang listened to everyone's praise. The corners of his lips couldn't help but rise. When he played the Gukan, he put in even more effort. With precious jewels before him, this young master from the Shah family is quite wealthy. Again, someone started to worry about me. Is there even a need for further discussion? Coming in with a royal flush right away. This really doesn't leave any room for others to play. Young Master Shah should know better. Longer, he shouldn't have gone up. We won't laugh at you. After all, how strong young master he is. Everyone present has been manipulated. Young Master Shah probably doesn't understand much either. Agreeing hastily to the selection. It's time to withdraw regularly now. It's just that he's normal. Someone kindly advised me to leave. Mom Zhang is quite upset. but they also hope I can give up. The most certain at the scene would be me and Yun Mengyao. Yun Mengyao is calm because she trusts I won't fight a battle I'm not confident in, even though she has never seen me play the Guqin. In contrast, rather than being calm, I seem more dissatisfied. Even my eyebrows are slightly furrowed. However, my appearance looks like I'm nervous to those at the scene. After a piece finishes playing, He Chaoshang raised his hand to wipe the sweat beading on his forehead, let out a shallow breath, then turned to look at me standing beside him. Young Master Sha, do you still want to come? What you just said. Clearly, you absorbed what everyone was saying earlier. It's fine if you don't want to play. The piece I'm playing today serves as a congratulatory gift for your return to the family. As soon as he finished speaking, I furrowed my brows and said seriously, first, you played one note incorrectly. Sigh. This piece should be played with emotion. You can't just pursue technique and skill. The most important thing is that the tone of this piece contains repression, sadness, intensity, tranquility, and various other elements. You played it too cheerfully. It lacks respect for the piece. My words settled in the air. The whole venue fell silent. He Chaoshang was left speechless for quite some time. Then, as if he was angered into laughter, he said with a slightly harsh tone, it seems that young Master Sha knows quite a bit. He could even make my master nod in approval. That the performance was completely worthless. Without waiting for the other party to respond, I immediately asked, everyone has their own understanding. I won't argue with you about other things for now. But when you say I played a note wrong, I must ask, which note did I play wrong? I didn't take his frustration to heart. I pointed out his mistake with a serious tone. At the slow turning point, it's not a plucked open string from 3 strings, but rather a shift in the position of the 3rd string, produced in harmony with the left hand. He Chaoshang understood what I was saying, known that I indeed have some knowledge of the Guqin, but he dismissed the errors I pointed out. I have practiced this piece not less than 1,000 times, if not 800 times. Besides my master, probably no one knows this piece better than I do. What young Master Sha referred to was indeed the plucked open string of 3 strings, and not the so-called harmonics you mentioned. This is my piece, and it was created in my past life. How could I remember it incorrectly? I let out a cold laugh. Wrong is wrong. Here, we use the open sound produced by strumming the 3 strings. Listen for yourself. Is the transition of pitch and emotion appropriate? If old Wen plays like this, then he has played wrong too. As soon as I finished speaking, everyone in the room was stunned. Then, they suddenly burst into laughter. I didn't hear that wrong, did I? Young Master Sha actually questioned old Wen. Truly, a young calf fears not the tiger. Those who dare to question old Wen's mistakes are probably hard to find, except for young Master Sha. Mother Sha and Wu Shuman looked at each other. They were somewhat at a loss for words. After all, they don't understand either. Moreover, my questioning of Wen Songyi's mistake truly caught people off guard. Yet, there happens to be someone like Sha Qingning who isn't afraid of causing trouble. My brother said that if you miss the note, it's a mistake. Do any of you have an opinion? That glance was chilling. That cold gaze made everyone instantly shut their mouths in fear. He Chaoshang also had a look as if he wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Shishiren stood up and looked at me. Young Master Sha, if you don't want to go on stage to perform, we won't force you either. There's really no need to do this. Besides, you say I'm okay. But my master has the status he has today. His strength is something everyone can see. Questioning whether he played wrong is quite disrespectful. For a moment, the people on site looked at me. Their gazes carried an indescribable contempt. If they didn't dare to compete, it wouldn't be a big deal to withdraw voluntarily. Moreover, they were all helping me save face. Because they couldn't compete, they randomly picked on me, even attacking Master Wen. This is both petty-minded and foolish. However, these people only thought about it in their hearts. Who would dare to speak it out loud? Yet, a few fearless young masters chimed in. I wondered why he kept clinging to this. It turns out it was because he heard Chao Zhe play too well. He didn't dare to say it directly on stage. They even dragged in Elder Wen, who is top-notch in the Guqin world. Truly, they don't know what it means to be humble. BAEB. A meal for one person. The family members all wore a solemn expression. Meanwhile, Sha Qingning was looking at that person, and looking back at them. Their gaze was indeed fixed on one person. However, before she could take action, the butler hurried over with small quick steps. Madam Wen Song has arrived. This announcement left everyone present stunned. They immediately began to whisper amongst themselves. When the Sha family invited Wen Song, they probably didn't expect their newly acknowledged son to be so fierce. Now, there's a good show to watch. The murmurs of the crowd still did not reach the ears of the Sha family. But seeing their expressions, it was clear they weren't saying anything nice. Sha's mother felt a pang in her heart. She did not invite Wen Song. Only the other party could invite them. Thinking of this, she glanced at me inquiringly. I gave her a reassuring glance. It indirectly acknowledged that this person was invited by me. However, Mama Sha was not comforted. Her son's earlier words still echoed in her ears. He will surely run into Wen Song later. At that time, indeed, when Wen Song came into everyone's view, He Chaoshang approached him with a joyful expression. Master. Wen Song nodded lightly at him. Then he continued to walk towards me. However, he hadn't taken 2 steps yet. When He Chaoshang came up again. Master. I just played your famous song, Fufi, at the banquet. This young master from the Sha family insisted that I played it wrong. Not only did he say that about me, but he also said you were wrong. Yang Miaoyun closed her eyes. When I opened it again, it was full of fierce colors. Sha Wanning and the others also looked at He Chaoshang with cold expressions. It seems that no matter what happens next, they will firmly stand by my side. They won't let me suffer even the slightest grievance. Only my gaze remains calm without a hint of turbulence. It even carries a faint trace of mockery. He Chao Shang thought that after saying all this, Wen Song would fly into a rage, or bluntly mock me. However, Wen Song was momentarily taken aback. Then, he nervously asked, what he said wrong. He Chao Shang blinked, momentarily unable to react, until Wen Song asked again. He awkwardly repeated the mistake I mentioned. Next, everyone saw Wen Song with a serious expression, walking towards the gukan placed in the banquet area. After sitting down, he raised his hand and played that note. He played both variations. Then he repeatedly played a section that connected the two pieces a few times. Then he showed a look of sudden clarity. He quickly got up and walked around He Chaoshang, who looked confused. He approached me with a look of trepidation. Sha Qingning thought Wen Song was going to do something to me. Summer stood for Wen Song. The atmosphere became intense and imposing. Sha Weining also quietly stood in front of me. The writer. Master, I'm sorry. I misremembered that part. Please don't be angry. Wen Song looked like a schoolboy who had made a mistake. He slightly bent over and lowered his head. He stood in front of me very awkwardly. He looked like he was waiting for his fate. It has grown. It has grown. The others from the Yun and Sha families are. He Chaoshang and the crowd present looked bewildered. Silence. Silence as dead as the grave. After Wen Song called out to me and apologized, the scene was engulfed in a dead silence. Until I heard Sha Wanning cough lightly. I moved the person blocking me aside. Only then did the crowd snap back from their shock. Then came the explosive reaction of a bounce back. What did I just hear? Old Wen actually called the young master of the Sha family his master. And from the sound of his voice, he really did play it wrong. The national treasure Gukan was in front of young master Sha, yet he appeared so respectful and reverent. I must be seeing things wrong. The people in the banquet hall were all cheering joyfully. In contrast, He Kaosong, who had just become my disciple, indeed looked quite bad. However, more than feeling embarrassed, he felt disbelief. His godlike master turned out to be his disciple. This world must have gone crazy. The people from the Yun and Sha families were anything but calm. Just moments ago, they were so angry. Now they were equally proud. Wu Shuman even came up and pinched my cheek. Little hat, you're really impressive. Is our girl trying to reach too high? No matter what others say, Wen Song did not straighten his bent back. It seemed like he wouldn't stop until he received my criticism. I raised my hand and held Wu Shuman's hand to pull her down. I coldly looked at Wen Song and replied, what did I take incorrectly? Your judgment in choosing disciples is really lacking. What is the tone of this piece? I think you should be clear about this. You still accepted how poorly he played. Wen Song, trembling with fear, endured my reprimand. When he heard me say he acknowledged He Chaoshang, confusion appeared on his face. After thinking carefully, he then shook his head like a rattledrum. Master, that wasn't me accepting him. It was that his previous playing was just too poor. He couldn't even play the entire piece smoothly. There's finally a bit of improvement. I just nodded. Because my master told me before, even the dullest apprentice needs proper encouragement. This is how you taught me back then. He Chaoshang looked terrified. People present burst out laughing, listening to the carefree laughter around him. He Chaoshang wanted to find a crack in the ground to hide. How smug he was when he provoked me. Now he regrets it so much. However, he still felt like he was in a dream about everything happening in front of him. He still had a feeling of being in a dream. How old can the young master of the Sha family be? How could he possibly be his master's master? Just at that moment, a young master stepped forward and grabbed He Chaoshang's arm. Looking at everyone at the scene, he sarcastically said, you bunch of fair-weather friends can just stop already. Weren't you all mocking young Master Sha just now? Seeing the situation turn around, they all started backpedaling. How could you be so shameless? The person who was mocking him suddenly fell silent after what he said. They immediately shut their mouths. One by one, they turned red-faced. At that moment, He Chaoshang also seemed to finally come to his senses after the blow. He stepped forward towards Wen Song. Master, you're joking, right? How old is young Master Sha anyway? How could you possibly take him as your master? Besides, how many years has your famous song been out? You've been playing it that way all along. How could it be that if he says it's wrong, it's wrong? When Wen Song faced him, his expression changed. There's always someone better out there. You're only allowed to be successful at a young age. You won't allow anyone else to be more talented than you. You ask me why I doubt myself because of my master's words. Because this piece was written by him. After he finished speaking, he turned back and resumed his humble demeanor. Master, I also don't know why this rebellious disciple would disrespect you. But you should be careful with your words. From today onwards, he will no longer be my disciple. As soon as these words were spoken, He Chaoshang's face turned even paler. He looked at me in disbelief and said, Master Sha is still so young. His skill in Gukan surpasses that of my master. Oh no, even old Wen is better. Shouldn't he show everyone his skills then? Prove your own strength. As soon as he finished speaking, the people at the scene gasped in shock. They admired He Chaoshang's boldness from the bottom of their hearts. These words clearly imply that Wen Song is being selfish. They questioned whether this was all a play he was acting out with Master Sha. Everyone else caught the hidden meaning. How could Wen Song not hear it? He immediately flew into a rage. Are you questioning my honesty? I have reached this position after all. As for doing something that would tarnish my reputation, He Chaoshang seemed indifferent to the consequences. The Sha family is wealthy and influential. Who can predict such things anyway? Besides, was what I said wrong? Wen Song was almost laughing in anger. He was about to say something when I stopped him with a glance. Since I agreed to spar, I certainly won't hold back from playing. After saying that, I walked towards the guqin placed nearby. I'll play a piece called The Bandit as well. I'll also teach you a thing or two. How this piece should actually be played. He Chaoshang's expression stiffened. Wen Song instantly swept away the earlier gloom. Excitement was evident in the corners of his eyes and eyebrows. Being able to hear my master play, The Bandit, once more. Even if I get bitten by an ungrateful wolf, it would be worth it. He Chaoshang, who was being called an ungrateful wolf, turned even paler. But until now, he still couldn't believe I actually had such high skill. Just as I was about to take my seat, I was suddenly nudged by Sha Qingning. In a jolt. We don't deal with stupid people. It's from what your second sister bought for you. He Chaoshang, who has once again earned a ridiculous nickname, looks helpless. I looked at her in confusion. It seemed to ask where the guqin you bought was. Sha Qingning glanced at her watch. How is Zhang Ying like this month? As soon as she finished speaking, Zhang Ying's breathless voice came from the back of the crowd. Second miss, I've brought it. The people present quickly made way. Assistant Zhang Ying ran over and held her in her arms. The guqin she was holding out to Sha Qingning. Sha Qingning placed the purchased items on the newly vacated table. She turned to me eagerly and said, given the time, I went ahead and bought a guqin. Later, when second sister returns, she can have one customized for you as a gift. I was about to say no need to play this time myself. I don't even know when the next time will be. But seeing the affectionate and pleased look in Sha Qingning's eyes, still swallowed the words back. Thank you, second sister. Sha Qingning staggered on her feet. Grateful that she had already placed the guqin, she blankly asked, what did my brother call me? Without waiting for my response, she turned around and grabbed Sha Weining by the neck, shaking her wildly. My brother called me second sister. Sha Weining, with a dark expression, grabbed her wrist and pulled it away. Get out of my way. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded. It seemed unimaginable that the ruthless Sha, the second miss of the Sha family, had such a side to her. However, as I took my seat, their attention was drawn back. Upon learning that I was Master Wen Song, although they didn't question the authenticity like Yi Chaoshang did, they were all very curious about what my guqin playing would be like. I hadn't touched the guqin strings in a long time, but facing the gaze of the crowd, I felt not the slightest bit flustered. After a simple adjustment, I gently plucked the strings with my 10 fingers. It felt as if everyone's heartstrings trembled in response. As a series of mournful notes flowed out, the remaining noise of the scene quieted down. I played the instrument with a focused expression, yet my heart seemed to traverse through time and space. It returned to an ancient era. It was late autumn, and urgent battles were raging at the borders. My father and brothers had been missing for several months. However, there was no imperial decree. I was still young, only able to wait at home with my mother. It was during that time that I, filled with worries and hopes for victory, composed this piece of music. The initial melody was sorrowful and low, like the whimpering of autumn winds. It slowly lingered in everyone's ears. Those listening to the music couldn't help but feel a heavy sense of oppression. It seemed that before me was no longer the modern Sha family's garden. Everyone was too nervous to make a sound. The tension felt as if they were about to rush into battle at any moment. The music shifted once again, with a force reminiscent of thunder. It seemed to resonate with the morale of the soldiers on the front lines. My fingers danced along the strings quickly, like a series of silhouettes. I lost track of time until a buzzing sound emerged. It was as if it coincided with some kind of signal. The horn of victory in battle sounded. Our soldiers pressed the advantage and pursued. They reclaimed lost ground and dealt heavy blows to the defeated. The people on site were now incredibly excited. Every face radiated a triumphant smile filled with joy. It seemed as though they were the ones who had won the battle. As the last gentle, quivering note faded away, I concluded my performance on the guqin. However, the people still maintained their original poses. Their expressions were clearly still lost in the music. I was still in a daze. Yun Mengyao stared at me with a dazed expression. A certain suspicion in my heart was about to break free. Behind the crowd, there was a gaze that stood out from the others. It pierced through the heads of the crowd and was firmly fixed on my face. Su Lingen knew that the Su family would receive an invitation. It must have been done without my and Sha Wenning's knowledge. So, ever since she arrived, she has tried to minimize her presence. She didn't even allow those like her mother and brother, who were like ticking time bombs, to come along. When she saw me make another stunning appearance, she couldn't express what she felt inside. She didn't think she could fall in love with anyone. Compared to power, love seemed too illusory. So, the slight regret in her heart was likely because she didn't expect my background. As a result, she lost such a powerful ally from the Sha family. I could hear the guqin piece I played. A hidden pain arose in her heart again. It seemed like she had lost something important. She remembered I had said, we must have had some past life in ancient times. At that time, she just took it as a joke. Could it be true? Of course, I couldn't have missed seeing Su Lingen. I didn't care whether the other party would be embarrassed, but asking people to leave on the spot would definitely raise suspicions among the crowd, thus adding unnecessary gossip to the elite society of the capital. It would generate some unnecessary talking points. Xie Wanqing probably had the same thought as me. That's why she didn't provoke the other party. As long as the other party behaved at the banquet, we could temporarily pretend she didn't exist. My numb fingers gradually regained feeling. I stood up and coldly looked towards Yi Chaoshang. Have you learned it? This voice seemed to have turned on some switch. The people on site suddenly came to their senses, but they were belatedly covered in goosebumps. Wow. Incredible. It's simply breathtaking. This isn't just listening to the guqin. It's like watching an ancient war epic. I haven't felt this immersed even in the cinema. When young master he was just shouting about Master Wen's schemes. He looked nothing like an artist. But thanks to his relentless attitude, we got to hear such an amazing Gukan piece, haha. Listening to the relentless sarcasm from those around me, He Chao Shang's face drained of color once again. As a member of the Gukan community, he knows better than anyone else besides Wen Song how stunning my performance just now was. It turns out I was the one who didn't know my own limits. Yang Wanyan looked at her son with teary eyes, feeling proud of me, yet regretting all the growth she missed. The people at the venue were still enthusiastically praising. I wonder who just said that. If I'm not mistaken, young Master Shaw is only 19 this year, right? He just turned legal age not long ago. He has such high achievements in the Gukan world. It's simply unbelievable. Is he really that young? Does that mean he's still in school? Yang Wanyan then remembered she hadn't asked me about my studies. Xiao Yan's student registration should still be in Shenzhen, right? Member. Mom sent someone to bring you here. I said with a bit of amusement. I've already graduated. Upon hearing this, Shaw's mother was taken aback. The others present also stopped speaking. We looked at each other. I looked at you, and your expression seemed a bit strange. A young master chuckled while covering his mouth. Graduating at 19. That's high school graduation, middle school graduation, or even elementary school graduation. When I made my entrance, some wealthy young masters became extremely jealous. After I showcased my talent and slapped He Chaoshang's face, these people, while feeling jealous, in their hearts, they raised a strong alarm. Compared to them, I've had limited resources growing up. Yet, as soon as I returned, I stole the spotlight. Where does that leave the faces of these prominent young masters? How will they stand in high society in the future? That's why, having finally caught a hint of a flaw, some people began to make a fuss. Almost as soon as the person finished speaking, a young master chimed in. No wonder young Master Shaw is so skilled at the Gukan. He must not be attending school. He must be focusing solely on this. If young Master Shaw isn't in school, he must be spending all his time playing the Gukan. It wouldn't make sense if he didn't play well. Even He Chaoshang didn't neglect his studies. Moreover, he graduated from a prestigious university. In that case, there's really nothing to mock them for. If they don't balance academics and just practice the Gukan, they might not be worse than some others. He Chaoshang didn't expect the situation to take a turn. His earlier gloomy mood was instantly lifted. Her eyes and brow clearly showed joy, yet she pretends to speak modestly. The university I attended isn't considered a prestigious one. Mainly, the Gukan took up some of my time. It really is difficult to balance both. Speaking of educational background, young Master Ruan is still the most admirable. He graduated from the world's top university, Pudding University. As he spoke, he turned to look at Ruan Shuming, who had a cold expression. Ruan Shuming, who had hardly said anything from the beginning to end. What you said is true. Who can compare with Brother Chu? The admission difficulty for Pudding University is 5S. I heard that the difficulty for graduation doubles. There are only a few who can get in throughout the whole Wagwo. Moreover, this school does not accept relationships. Even in our capital city's elite circles. Throughout history, only Miss Shaw, Miss Yun and Brother Chu have made it into this school based on their own strength. They graduated here purely on their own merit. Exactly. Although the university you attended isn't as good as Brother Chu's, at least it ranks among the top in the country. Better than not having attended university, right? He Chenshong felt a wave of relief in his heart upon hearing this. Ruan Shuming, drawn into the topic, also ceased to remain silent. You all aren't bad either. Moreover, university is just a part of the resume. Having experienced it, there's no regret. Although he spoke humbly, his expression was one of arrogance. A young master said with a grin. Everyone present, except those who weren't of age, must have attended university, right? It seems only young Master Shaw has regrets. The group of young masters present exchanged remarks back and forth. They mocked my academic background to the fullest. They didn't give anyone else a chance to interject. With every word they spoke, Yang Miaoyun and the others' expressions grew more unpleasant. Just as Sha Qingning's patience was reaching its peak, almost ready to explode, the butler arrived. Madame Tan has arrived. Mother Shaw was so enraged that she was about to lose her mind. She was momentarily taken aback upon hearing this. Which Tan is it? The butler found it a bit strange but still explained. The one who taught at Princeton. Before the butler could explain, the people at the scene were already gaping in shock. In the entire capital, the only one who can be respectfully called Old Tan. Aside from that one person who taught at Princeton, a Chinese national. The current academic authority, Tan Yusen. Who else could it be? It's just that ever since his retirement, he has lived in seclusion. A person who never accepts any banquet invitations. How could he suddenly come here? Compared to Wen Song, who is still often active in everyone's sight, it's almost like a hermit appearing. Yusen attending a grand banquet is something no one expected. Yang Miaoyun regained composure. This line seems to contain a typo or is out of context. Yang Miaoyun came back to reality. He felt he had been foolish. This person was also not invited by her. Moreover, even if she extends an invitation, there's no guarantee that I can handle this person. Mr. Indifferent to fame and fortune over. Could it be that? Yang Miaoyun looked at me in confusion. Suddenly, I felt as if I had wasted over 40 years of my life. I couldn't even see through a child. The people present were unaware of the situation. Facing this heavyweight figure about to make an entrance, they started whispering again. The Shaw family truly lives up to its reputation. They even managed to invite someone like Old Tan. However, the timing of his arrival is a bit awkward. Just as young Master Shaw's education was being criticized, an academic heavyweight showed up. Isn't that putting his son in a difficult position? Did you forget what Mrs. Shaw just said? That she would transfer young Master Shaw's school registration? Clearly, they are unaware that young Master Shaw has already dropped out. Indeed, God is fair after all. Those who excel in one area may not even be as good as ordinary people in others. Listening to these voices, a group of wealthy young masters exchanged glances. Each of them had an expression of waiting to see the show. He Chaoshang seemed to think of something and looked at Ruan Shuming, asking, "Young Master Ruan, isn't Professor Tan your mentor?" Another young master clearly thought of this as well. "I remember that Professor Tan is an expert in artificial intelligence. And Brother Chu's company is also in the field of artificial intelligence. It matches perfectly with his expertise." Mentioning Tan Yusen, Ruan Shuming's expression became much more respectful. No longer that kind of arrogant demeanor from before. "That's right. Professor Tan is my mentor. I just didn't expect him to come." As he spoke, he turned to look in the direction of the Shaw family, raising the champagne in his hand. "I haven't seen my mentor for a long time. I know he enjoys peace and quiet, so I don't want to disturb him. This time, it's thanks to the Shaw family's invitation that I have the chance to catch up with my mentor. I won't say too much in thanks. Let's raise a glass to young Master Shaw here." Yang Miaoyun and the others' expressions shifted. The others on site exchanged glances. I don't know what Ruan Shuming is up to this time. He, a guest of the Shaw family, is rushing to express his thanks. His words reveal a familiarity with Tan. It's as if he's the one who invited this person. Moreover, just now everyone was mocking my education. They said that old Tan came at the wrong time. Yet he used this opportunity to toast and thank me. It could almost be called a provocation. Young Master Shaw can still endure this. However, I didn't get angry and embarrassed like everyone imagined. In response to Ruan Shuming's provocation, I didn't even pay attention, as if making eye contact with him was just a waste of time. Ruan Shuming didn't get the reaction he wanted from my face. He furrowed his brows slightly. From the very beginning, he realized, I am surprisingly calm no matter what I face. It seems that everything is under control. This calm demeanor in the face of praise or criticism, no matter how hard I try to learn, I still cannot grasp the essence. Just because I can play the piano, I can ignore my other flaws. Ruan Shuming was completely baffled. At that moment, the sound of a cane tapping on the ground echoed. Everyone turned their heads. They saw Tan Yusen dressed in traditional Chinese attire. He approached with one hand behind his back. Upon seeing Tan Yusen, Ruan Shuming immediately forgot about me. He eagerly approached with a slightly excited expression. "Teacher Tan, long time no see." Tan Yusen paused in his steps. He reached up with the hand behind his back to adjust his glasses. After lingering on Ruan Shuming's face for a moment, he asked in confusion, "Have we met before?" Ruan Shuming looked visibly embarrassed. Wu Shuman could barely hold back a laugh. The other people present were stunned for a moment. They also laughed heartily together. It really makes me laugh to death. Is Mr. Tan really Ruan Shuming's mentor? Or is it true that Ruan Shuming graduated from Pudi Ying's? He wouldn't be lying to us, right? How can a mentor not recognize their student? Listening to the unrestrained laughter of those around him, Ruan Shuming's smile was almost unable to be maintained. He also wanted to know, how could Mr. Tan not recognize him? He graduated not long ago. Do people really become so forgetful when they get old? He Chaoshang timely stepped in to explain. Young Master Ruan indeed graduated from Pudi Ying's. There's no need to doubt this, because I have seen his graduation. Mr. Tan is probably getting old, and he teaches so many students every year. It's normal not to remember. Ruan Shuming cast him a grateful glance. He then patiently explained to Tan Yusen, "Teacher Tan, I am your student Ruan Shuming. You were the one who guided my thesis. Have you forgotten?" Tan Yusen's expression was still one of shock, but he clearly didn't want to continue the argument with him. I turned back to take a look at the student roster. "You go down first." After saying that, he didn't wait for Ruan Shuming's reaction. He stepped around him and walked up to me. Immediately, he performed a Sichuan opera face change. "You haven't even come to see me after graduation. You made me travel so far just to see you. Do you have students like you?" Although it sounded somewhat accusatory, anyone could hear the affection in it. As soon as Tan Yusen finished speaking, the scene fell into a strange silence once again. The anger on Shaw Mama and others' faces hadn't faded yet. It quickly turned into bewilderment. Ruan Shuming's facade of calmness was shattered again. He was completely incredulous. The expressions of the wealthy young masters looked like they had seen a ghost. After the shock wore off, the others present were suddenly in an uproar. Young Master Shaw is also a student of old Master Tan. She also graduated from Prudent University. Oh my, is she really 19 years old? Now that I think about it, Ruan Shuming's thanks are even funnier, aren't they? She invited her own mentor. But it has nothing to do with him at all. He Chaoshang even said old Master Tan is getting old. It's normal for him not to remember his students. So how could old Master Tan remember young Master Shaw then? The mocking voices on site were like a slap to Ruan Shuming's face, making him feel utterly ashamed and embarrassed. But how could I possibly be a graduate of Prudent University? Thinking this, he stepped forward to voice his doubt. Old Master Tan, did you mistake me for someone else? Young Master Shaw is 19 years old this year. How could he have graduated from university already? Tan Yusen let out a chuckle. Graduated from university. Even Xiao Wei has a doctorate degree. As he spoke, he suspiciously glanced at Ruan Shuming. You graduated from Pudding Institute. I didn't know Pudding Institute had a junior program. The people on site suddenly gasped. And Ruan Shuming was stunned. He definitely knew that Pudding Institute had a junior program. It is specifically designed to recruit prodigies from all over the world. Everyone there is a genius among geniuses. If the admission difficulty of Pudding Institute is considered hard mode, Then the standard for the junior program is Ultimate Super Hard Mode. It is said that since the establishment of Pudding Institute, only 2 Chinese students have been able to enter the junior program. He wasn't surprised that Yun Mengyao would be one of them. But this boy in front of him was surprisingly the other one. What he could think of, others naturally could think of as well. That's why there was such a big reaction. No wonder young Master Shaw graduated so early. This is a prodigy. A prodigy just like Miss Yun. Speaking of which, Miss Yun isn't even 20 yet. How could it be said that she graduated from Pudding Institute? She acts as if it's a matter of course. Hearing that young Master Shaw graduated at 19, they think he doesn't attend school anymore. You people are really double standards. It's killing me with laughter. An undergraduate trying to show off in front of a doctoral student. But is he really from Pudding Institute? I'm starting to doubt it again, ha ha ha. Wu Shuman turned to look at Yun Mengyao. You know all of this. 6 has always been stable. Yun Mengyao touched her nose and nodded. Wu Shuman wanted to ask further. Just then, Tan Yusen slapped his forehead. He looked at Ruan Shuming and said, I remember who you are now. Ruan Shuming's despondent expression suddenly brightened. He didn't expect this matter of mine. But he also doesn't want others to question his qualifications. While he was thinking this, the next moment, he heard Tan Yusen say, You're the one whose paper was sent back 7 times. Is this the child who took a year longer to graduate? This is the senior I told you about, Lu Wei. He completed his bachelor's to doctorate in 3 years. Keeping pace with that girl named Yun. Not falling behind at all. As he continued, his tone was full of pride. The crowd in the banquet hall couldn't help but laugh. Oh my, I can't take it anymore, ha ha ha. What kind of operation gets a paper sent back 17 times? Even with all the difficulties, Purdy Yings shouldn't have it this bad, right? No wonder old Tan only remembers young Master Shaw. Paper sent back times. Graduated a year late. If it were me, I wouldn't want to remember this student either. Why is all your attention on young Master Ruan? Am I the only one who thinks young Master Shaw is amazing? Completed bachelor's, master's, and doctorate in 3 years. Also has exceptional skill in playing the guqin. I wouldn't even dare to think about these. The overwhelming ridicule and chatter seemed to drown out Ruan Shuming. At this moment, he wished he could find a crack in the ground to hide in. Although he graduated a year late, he did manage to graduate. Moreover, the graduation difficulty at Pu Di Yings is so high. He wasn't the only one who graduated late, so he never really took this matter seriously. He was always proud of graduating from Pu Di Yings. But now this situation has made him a laughingstock. Wu Shuman turned back to look at her daughter again. She asked the question she couldn't ask earlier. You met Xiao while studying at Pu Di Yings, right? She nodded slightly. Wu Shuman continued to ask. You liked him back then, didn't you? Yun Mengyao glanced at me with a flushed face. There was a tender smile in her eyes. That's right. Unlike the harmonious joy of the Yun and Shaw families, ever since my academic background was revealed, the expressions of those rich young masters have never been pleasant. But after being slapped in the face twice in a row, they also somewhat lowered their flags and ceased their efforts. Ruan Shuming looked like a frostbitten eggplant. He was completely dejected. While I was reminiscing with Tan Yusen, He Chaoshang stepped over to Ruan Shuming and comforted him. Young Master Ruan, you don't have to do this. You aren't relying on your family. You established frost technology based on your own abilities, and carved out your own space in the field of artificial intelligence. It's something many people envy but cannot attain. Upon hearing this, the light in Ruan Shuming's eyes gradually brightened. He perked up and turned to look at me. Young Master Shaw, since you have graduated, where were you working before this? Sha Qingning and the others immediately turned sour, while Yun Mengyao and Sha Wanning watched them equally. Ruan Shuming was feeling smug about my speechlessness. A gentle and clear voice suddenly came from behind. Please make way. Ruan Shuming instinctively turned to the side. He was momentarily stunned upon seeing the woman who spoke. Assistant Shen. What are you doing here? Shen Bingbing stopped in her tracks. She politely replied. I'm here to deliver something to my boss. Ruan Shuming immediately felt a surge of joy. Your CEO is here. Where are they? He Chaoshang, standing nearby, asked with confusion. Which CEO are you talking about? Is it someone worth being this happy about? Of course, it's the leading company in our artificial intelligence field. Ruan Shuming knew that the CEO of IU was here. While speaking, he unconsciously revealed a hint of flattery. I have always wanted to introduce IU's artificial intelligence technology. I have made many appointments. But the IU CEO is a very busy person. They can't find the time to spare. I really didn't expect the other party to come to this banquet. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone on site widened their eyes in surprise. Also looked around. That one was established in the deep market. AU covered most of the global sectors in just 3 years. That president is on site. Speaking of which, this president is too mysterious. There's not a single photo of them online. I heard that the AU president is quite young. Yang Miaoyun also looked outside in confusion. She knows about AU, but it's located in the deep market. She doesn't know the AU president either, so she didn't invite them at all. But if it's her own son who invited them, then how come no one came to the event? Shen Bingbing smiled and walked straight towards me. The paperwork here in the capital city is done. We just need your signature to move AU over. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone on site was stunned. Mama Shaw stiffly turned her head around. Her gaze at me was filled with disbelief. Sha Qingning didn't react as strongly as she did, but she also felt that her worldview had been overturned. She recalled her actions regarding the subcard. Suddenly, she awkwardly used her toes to build a magical castle. No wonder her younger brother said he wasn't short on money. At that time, she thought he was just being polite to her. Mr. and Mrs. Wu Shuman turned together to look at Yun Mengyao. Their expressions seemed to say, What kind of luck did you stumble upon, girl? They didn't consider that their own daughter was also top-notch in everything. Sha Wanning, having known my identity in advance, remained as calm as Yun Mengyao. Unlike the simple shock of the Yun and Sha families, the wealthy young masters present at the scene had expressions that could only be described as fierce. Meanwhile, Ruan Chuming seemed to be trapped in some terrifying nightmare. He was unconsciously stepping back. He was even shaking his head and muttering, "How could this be?" After the other people at the scene came to their senses, they erupted again. "I must be seeing things, right? A Yukai is young Master Sha. They are really quite young. Does this person really have to be like this? Are they leaving anyone else any way out?" Ruan Chuming tightly clenched his fist. He almost bit his lips until they bled. He must have figured out what's on me now. Where did this calmness come from? The ridiculous thing is, he even thought he could turn things around in his career. Not only did he find himself in an embarrassing situation again, he also completely lost the chance to collaborate with a Yukai. Sha Qingning turned to glance at Zhang Ying, who was waiting aside. "Make sure to remember everything." Zhang Ying nodded. Sha Qingning looked at all the young masters in the room with a sneer. She commanded 100. Zhang Ying immediately led a group of people to act. "Any young master who has spoken against me at the banquet." They were all dragged out. "What are you doing? Let go of me." "Ah!" Accompanied by waves of gasps. All the wealthy young men who mocked me were thrown out. Sha Qingning clapped her hands. She smiled at the remaining group. "To clean up some trash. All right, let the banquet continue." She dared to throw out most of the wealthy young men at the banquet, and to insult them as trash. Only Sha Qingning could possibly do that. However, these people's parents dared not voice any objections. They even anxiously wondered if they would be targeted by the Sha family in the future. Others were relieved they hadn't said anything inappropriate, with the previous lesson learned. Plus, I now have no grounds to criticize. The rest of the banquet went without any incidents. By the time the banquet ended and the guests were almost dispersing, Su Lingyan stepped forward and stood in front of me. "Can we talk?" Yun Mengyao's expression was somewhat ambiguous. Sha Wanning glanced at her. "Not kicking you out before was already merciful enough. Do you dare to come up?" Sha's mother and others looked at Sha Wanning in confusion. Sha Wanning did not respond to her mother's gaze. Instead, she spoke to me directly. Su Lingyan did not move but stubbornly stared at me. "I have something to say to you. It's about the two of us before." I interrupted her. "Let's go. You only have 5 minutes." Yun Mengyao suddenly grabbed my wrist. I reassuredly clasped her hand back, transmitting warmth from my palm. "Don't worry. Wait for me." After saying that, I went with Su Lingyan to a rockery. I looked at Su Lingyan and asked straightforwardly, "What do you want to say?" Su Lingyan looked at me. "You seem not at all surprised that I would be here. Have you been keeping an eye on my updates?" I glanced at my watch. "You have 4 more minutes." Su Lingyan slightly moved her chin. "I somewhat believe in what you said about past lives now. I just don't understand. How could we have such deep feelings for each other? Why do you suddenly hate me so much?" I didn't answer her question. Instead, I crossed my arms and leaned against the rockery. "You caused Su Minggui's trouble, didn't you?" Su Lingyan's eyes were filled with intent. She wanted to extract information from me. "You really hate me this much? You want to put me in a difficult position?" I shook my index finger. "Has someone told you about this, did they? The best way to take revenge on someone isn't to stab them, but to make sure they can never get what they long for, or to gain it only to lose it completely. After all, the feeling of falling from heaven into the abyss is even more devastating than never having touched heaven at all, isn't it? You want to use the power of the Sha family to deal with the Su family." I let out a cold laugh. "You've known me for so long. Do I look like the kind of coward who relies on others for revenge?" Upon hearing my words, Su Lingyan instantly regained her previous composure. "Although AU is a leading company in the industry, it has no overlap with the Su family's business. How do you plan to bring me down? Even if you want to acquire A's available cash flow is also not enough to acquire the entire Su group, right?" I smiled as if mocking her naivety. "Acquisition is just helping you liquidate your assets. Do you think I'm foolish? As for how I deal with the family, just wait and see. 5 minutes are up. Take care, no need to see me off." After saying this, I no longer paid attention to Su Lingyan's expression. I turned around and walked back. On the way back, my steps seemed much more hurried, and Yun Mengyao, seeing me approaching, took a few steps forward as well. I opened my arms and hugged her tightly. "I'm back." Yun Mengyao let out a soft sound in my arms. Sha Qingning's eyes were filled with intense anger. "Where's that guy?" "Second sister agrees with you. What do you want to do to her? Slice or mince?" "Second sister is on your side." After that period just now, Sha Qingning also learned from Sha Weining about the grudges between me and Su Lingyan. Now she's in a state of fury. If she weren't being stopped, she might have already gone to confront Su Lingyan. I smiled and said to Sha Qingning, "How could such trash stain third sister's hands? I'll handle it myself." A bloodthirsty glint flashed in Sha Qingning's eyes. "Second sister isn't joking with you. Don't think that just because she's back at the Su family now, it's still very easy for me to make her disappear completely." My tone also became serious. "I'm not joking with third sister. This is the grudge between her and me. I want to handle it myself. It's not that the Sha family is of no use at all." As she said this, she turned to look at Sha Wanning. "Eldest sister. Doesn't the Sha group have an entertainment company?" "Yes, there is one. But that was because third sister had a whim to act in a film. She started it with friends. As a result." Sha Qingning smiled and picked up the conversation. "In the end, this person only stayed in the crew for 3 days, complaining that there were mosquitoes in the deep mountains and forests. He ran away. Xiao Xiao is your third sister. Now she's out there doing photography. I didn't tell her I found you. Xia Wanning glared at Xia Qingning for interrupting and continued speaking. Because Xiao Xiao gave up on the path of being an artist. How did the Xia family manage Xing Che? There were only 2 management personnel stationed there. They say it's an entertainment company. It's actually not just a few artist studios. However, my brother is asking this Qian Gong. I was thinking, no wonder up to now. I only saw 2 older sisters. What I want to say is, can you let me manage Xing Che, big sister? Note. This seems to be an incomplete sentence and might need further context. Xia Wanning looked at me and said, are you renting? I nodded slightly. That's right. The Su family's main business is entertainment companies. I want to benchmark Xingqi against Tianyu under the Su group. If you trust me, big sister, you can hand Xing Che over to me. Give me a studio. Then I will return you the strongest star workshop. Xia Wanning glanced at me. What nonsense are you talking about? What do I have to be worried about you for? It's just that you still have a you under you. To manage an entertainment company again. Can your body handle that? And besides, you heard it wrong about what I just said. Right now, Xing Che is just 2. And Tian Yu almost occupies half of the entertainment industry. If Su Lingen knew you took over Xingqi, she would definitely be able to guess your intentions. In that case, she would inevitably try to undermine you. It's not that I don't trust your abilities. It's just that you haven't been involved in the entertainment industry. The Su family controls most of the resources in the entertainment industry. If she wants to suppress you, Xingqi basically won't have any room to survive. I smiled slightly. Ayu has already matured quite a bit now, and Shen Bingbing can manage on her own now. I will appoint her as the acting president, unless it's some important decisions. All Ayu's matters will be handled by her. As for managing an entertainment company, I know how to handle it. Don't worry, big sister. Most of Tianyu in my past life was also managed by me. When it comes to operating in the entertainment industry, no one is more familiar with it than I am. Moreover, I know the internal affairs of Tianyu like the back of my hand. Even if the start is difficult, bringing down the opponents is just a matter of time. Shen Bingbing was taken aback when she heard this. She couldn't help but feel somewhat flattered. But having learned from the last lesson, she tried hard to present a calm demeanor. She couldn't afford to embarrass her own boss. When I finished saying that I needed to focus on managing the entertainment company, Yang Miaoyun noticed right away. But, is this the only grievance between you and the fans? Is it just about being emotionally manipulated? Or is it about pushing the other party to bankruptcy? Is that all there is? Just for this, I'd like to chop her into pieces. Making her go bankrupt would be too lenient, okay? I can't explain matters of past lives. I just smiled and said, perhaps I'm like my second sister, and I tend to hold grudges. At this moment, Wu Shuman tapped Yan Mengyao on the head. How to take this? I've known her since we were in school, and she let others get ahead of her. Yan Mengyao did not respond. My heart ached. How could this be her fault? Yan Mengyao is such a proud person, yet she has bowed her head countless times in front of me. It's just that in my previous life, my heart was solely set on Su Lingen. I never gave her any response at all. Thinking of this, I picked up my hand and held Yan Mengyao's hand. I looked at Bao Shuman and said, Aunt, it was my lack of insight before. I let down Mengyao's feelings for me. But that won't happen again. Wu Shuman looked at Yan Mengyao with satisfaction and smiled. Look, Xiao Duo is protecting you. Not even your own mother dares to speak. You have to treat her well from now on, got it? Yan Mengyao tightened her grip on my hand. No need for you to arrange this. Wu Shuman yawned. Alright, it's getting late. We should be heading back now. Xiao Yan, do you want to go to the Yan family with Auntie? Xia Qingning cautiously pulled me over. No, thank you. Aunt Shu already said it's so late. My little brother needs to sleep too. Yan Mengyao held my hand tightly, reluctant to let go. She knows it's my first day back home. I should stay at the Xia family for the night. But since we've been together, the evenings have become dim. Yet I can't let her stay alone in an empty room. I still find it hard to face. Xia Wanian watched Yan Mengyao with glee. The grievances I suffered in the deep city these past few days seemed to vanish in an instant. Miss Yan, did you hear that? My little brother needs to sleep. No matter how reluctant Yan Mengyao was, she could only let go. However, at that moment, I quickly leaned close to her ear and whispered a sentence in a hushed tone. Yan Mengyao's eyes lit up immediately before she lowered them. Then Aunt Xia, we're leaving. Our little gesture was fleeting, so no one present noticed. Aunt Chong smiled and nodded. Shen Bingbing also bid farewell. The next morning, after having breakfast, I drove alone to Xingqi Entertainment. I entered through the revolving glass door. I was about to go to the designated meeting room to carry out the task handover, when I unexpectedly bumped into someone. Chen Jing froze at the sight of my handsome face. She was momentarily stunned. I was also discreetly observing the girl in front of me. Chen Jing. I silently repeated this name in my heart. Based on the timeline, the other party should still be at the forefront. But when I followed Su Lingen to the capital in my past life, this person had already switched to Tianyu. It turns out that before going to Tianyu, this person worked for Xingqi? I noticed her expression was somewhat strange. I asked casually, are you okay? Chen Jing reached out to touch her racing heart. I think I'm a little. I frowned. This person must be looking for Cheng. She was clearly doing just fine before. She was the one who bumped into me first. At this thought, I reached out and grabbed Chen Jing's hand. I placed my fingers on her wrist to check her pulse. Chen Jing stared blankly at her hand that I was holding. The spot that was touched felt like it had been electrified. It was tingly and numb. Before she could regain her senses, The warm sensation on her wrist had already vanished. I looked at her and said, "You're not seriously hurt." After saying that, I didn't look to see her reaction. I turned and walked straight toward the elevator. The manager cheerfully walked over. "Didn't you go back to the car to get something? Why are you dawdling here? Your hand is moving." Chen Jing held her hand, which I had checked, in front of her chest. "Sis, I think I fell in love at first sight." On the other side, I arrived at the designated meeting room. I saw a man and a woman. They were sitting calmly on opposite sides of the conference table. I had done some work before coming here. I know these two people. One is named Xu Feng. The other is Kai Min. They hold the positions of director and manager, respectively. But neither of them is very old. When they saw me enter, Xu Feng and Kai Min exchanged glances. "Lu He, hello. I will definitely do my best to support Lu Shi's work." Clearly, the two had received notice in advance. Xu Feng then spoke up. "Lu Shi. Currently, Xing Che only has one artist worth mentioning. But now he is leaving as well." I glanced at the two of them. "The person you're talking about is Chen Jing." Kai Min looked at me in confusion and asked, "Lu He knows her?" I didn't respond to her. I just frowned and fell into contemplation. I knew that Chen Jing would later switch to Tianyu. I just didn't expect it to happen so quickly. At this time, Xu Feng spoke again. "We don't have the ability to keep him. Why not let Lu Dai give it a try?" Although it was just a simple suggestion, I could tell that Xu Feng wanted to test my abilities through this matter. If I can't keep him, it won't change the fact that I'm taking over Xingqi. But getting him to completely submit to me is still not easy. Thinking this, I tapped my fingertips on the table a few times. "You all bring me his information first, then have him come to see me alone." Kai Min realized Xu Feng's insinuation. Upon hearing my instructions, she got up. "All right, Lu Nian." 10 minutes later, I had just turned to the last page of the document, when I heard a knock on the conference room door. I didn't even look up as I said, "Come in." Chen Jing arrived somewhat reluctantly. After all, she was about to leave Xingqi. She had no interest in the new CEO or anything. She could guess they wanted to keep her. And if that were the case, plus, if she had to stay, she might miss out on that handsome guy who made her heart race. But upon hearing this voice, she immediately thought of that handsome face. With a face full of questions, Chen Jing, with a heartbeat out of rhythm, slowly opened the conference room door. The moment she saw me, Chen Jing seemed frozen in place, until I looked at her with confusion. Only then did she move her stiff legs to come in front of me. "You are the new Kai of Xing Che." I chuckled while glancing at her chest. "Are you doing well now?" In an instant, it brought me back to the first time we met. It seemed like she wanted to use a joke to bury the hatchet. But Chen Jing seemed struck again by Cupid's arrow. Her heart raced as if it would jump out. I had no idea about the turmoil inside Chen Jing at that moment. I raised my hand to gesture for her to sit down. Then, with a businesslike tone, I replied, "People aspire to higher positions and your contract is due. The current development momentum is quite good. It's only natural to want to transfer to a big company like Tianyu." However, I hadn't finished speaking when Chen Jing interrupted me. "I'm not leaving." I choked on what I wanted to say. Chen Jing repeated. I said, "I'm not leaving. I want to renew my contract with Xing Che." I looked puzzled. Can you understand that feeling? It's like having a head full of drafts and various negotiation plans prepared, only to end up feeling utterly useless. So for the first time in my life, I hit a wall at the negotiating table. Chen Jing did not give me a clear answer to this question. Instead, she countered with a question. "Does the president have rules for female artists?" My expression instantly turned serious. "You can take that back. I guarantee with my character, I would never engage in that kind of unwritten rule." Chen Jing let out a low, "Oh. Who should I renew with? You? Why do I feel a bit strange? Is it just an illusion?" It seems like after I said I wouldn't engage in unwritten rules, this person looked quite disappointed. A not-so-good idea began to take root in my heart. "You still haven't answered my question. Why did you suddenly choose to stay?" Chen Jing was afraid of scaring people off and losing them, so she made up a reason. "Xingqi was established for me and a close friend of mine. Although that person abandoned me, I thought about it. I still can't abandon Xingqi. That friend of yours is Xiao Xiao." Chen Jing was taken aback. "You know her?" I nodded. I thought, it's not just acquaintance, that's my third sister. Chen Jing didn't think much of it either. Someone who could be sent from the Shaw family to take the position should be familiar with the Shaw family, so it's not surprising. Then who should I find? For the renewal, look for Director Xu. In the corridor outside the conference room, Xu Feng watched as she went in and stayed for less than 3 minutes before Chen Jing came out. Immediately, my heart sank. Kai Mincheng is expensive. She even said to Xu Feng, "Lu He has not been involved in the entertainment industry. It's normal to fail at first. Besides, both of us can keep people around." Xu Feng's expression didn't improve at all. Dingla, waiting at the side, fidgeted with his hands. "Jingjing Tianyu has already sent someone to pick you up." Who would have thought that the next moment, Chen Jing walked up to Xu Feng and stood still. "I want to renew my contract." Xu Feng thought he heard wrong. "What did you say?" After renewing her contract, Chen Jing returned to the lounge. She took out her phone to send a WeChat message to Xia Xiaoxiao. "What are you doing?" Reply. "If you're live, just let me know." She sent several messages in a row. The other side didn't respond to her at all. Chen Jing didn't mind at all. She bit the corner of her pillow. She freed up her hands to type. "I'm not going to Tianyu anymore. I want to stay at Xingqi." Not long after this message was sent, the other side made a video call. "Why do you suddenly want to stay? You don't need to think too much." "Yes. It was me who let you go. My sister doesn't care about Xingqi. She doesn't plan to expand into the entertainment industry. Why are you making money for her? Going to Tianyu definitely has its advantages. This is why Chen Jing doesn't care about her. The reason for not replying to her own messages. A good best friend might ignore you, but they will definitely think from your perspective. Chen Jing looked at Sha Xiaoxiao's face through the screen. Suddenly, she felt somewhat similar to me. I don't even know if I'm obsessed. Now everyone looks like me. I've fallen for a boy. He's the one who was parachuted in to manage Xingqi. I stayed for him. I had to go back. I'm busy, I can't reply. She hung up right after saying that. Tianyu's Kai executive office. After hearing what Su Lingyan's people said, Su Zi couldn't help but laugh in disbelief. Lu Yan's so-called revenge is to use Xingqi Entertainment against Tianyu. Is this person's brain kicked by a donkey? Is it not like an egg hitting a stone for Xingqi to go against Tianyu? Moreover, Xing Che is currently the only artist we can showcase. He is even planning to switch to our Tianyu Entertainment. Xing Che is just an empty shell. How can he compete with Tianyu, which occupies half of the entertainment industry? As soon as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the office door. After receiving permission, the HR manager walked in cautiously. Nian. Chen Jing wants to renew the contract with Xing Che. Oh my. If he doesn't come, so be it. Su Zi said irritably. A worthless second-tier artist. He really thinks too highly of himself. As long as Tianyu lifts a finger, she still wants to make a name for herself in the industry. Growth is a beautiful face. Growth is frozen. Beautiful face coming in. Manually pulling up Chen Jing's recently announced schedule. The finger lightly tapped on the table. Returning, K Jen came over. Shortly after, a handsome male star walked in. Suhi, you and I. Su Lingyan looked up at him with a glance. I have a task for you. Get the director to kick Chen Jing out. K Jen was stunned and asked how. Chen Jing still doesn't realize she's been set up. After renewing the contract, head to the outdoor variety show filming location. Meanwhile, I'm familiarizing myself with the company's rules and procedures. I'll make some changes along the way. However, before I could finish reading, Kai Min rushed in a flurry. He is having issues with Chen Jing. I paused for a moment. Kai Min immediately replied. It's regarding the law that Chen Jing is participating in today. But Chen Jing just arrived there today. She was informed by the director that she didn't need to film anymore. Essentially, she's been kicked out. I maintained my expression as we walked. Before long, we arrived at the site. I saw Dingla arguing with the director there. Meanwhile, Chen Jing was sitting under a makeshift outdoor sunshade, her eyes downcast, lost in thought. As I walked forward, Chen Jing seemed to sense something and looked over. She paused in surprise and put down the bottle of mineral water in her hand. She got up and walked over. Luhi, what brings you here? I glanced at the celebrity guests present. I focused on K Jen standing next to the director for a couple of seconds. What exactly is going on? Chen Jing grabbed her hair and said nonchalantly. It's not a big deal. That's just how the entertainment industry is. It's all about climbing up and stepping on those below. I happily accepted the deal with Tianyu. I'm not surprised to face suppression. However, the production team is at fault here. Even if we can't record anymore, I can still get some compensation. It's not a loss. I watched the girl comforting herself. I felt a bit uneasy inside. You wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. Chen Jing raised her hand and grabbed my wrist. I glanced down. Chen Jing immediately let go as if shocked. The director caught sight of me approaching in his peripheral vision. A flash of astonishment crossed his eyes. Which company are you two from? The person following me is Kai Yiri. I turned to glance at my own manager. At first, it was due to our connection. Later, she was startled by my presence and status. She didn't even notice. My manager can rely on looks for a living. K Jen also took notice of my appearance. Instantly, he felt a sense of caution. I looked at Faye with a cold expression. I am not an artist. I work for Xingqi Entertainment. Just a moment. What mistake has my artist made? You want to make a last-minute appointment? Hearing about my company. Chen Jing's ears turned slightly red. Although she knows I'm just casually saying this. Still, a hint of sweetness rose in her heart. After K Jen heard me say I'm not an artist, he temporarily breathed a sigh of relief. Due to his disdain for Xingqi Entertainment, he also looked down on my identity as the president. Under the director's pleading gaze, he crossed his arms and stepped forward. She arrogantly said to me, you must be new to this industry, huh? In the entertainment world, some things don't require reason. With my current status, it's just a matter of saying one word to remove a second-tier star. It's just one word. I narrowed my eyes slightly. You don't seem worried at all that someone might be recording. Daring to speak so boldly in public. There are only two possibilities. What a big fool. If it's the former, they wouldn't even reach this status before falling flat. K Jen seemed to have heard a joke. His assistant laughed unabashedly beside him. Did you not inquire about this before coming? Our sister Jen's backing is the second daughter of the Sha family in the capital, Sha Qingning. She also has ties to Shaman. You know about Shaman, right? You dare to provoke the boyfriend of Shaman's master? Are you tired of living? I was somewhat speechless. I could guess they must have connections. But I didn't expect that person would be my own sister. This person doesn't know I'm the young master of the Sha family, that's fine. Doesn't he know that Xingqi Entertainment is under the Sha Corporation? That's good. Xingqi Entertainment is at the bottom among entertainment companies. It seems there really aren't many people who can link it to the massive Sha Corporation. In my previous life, I only learned about it when Xingqi went bankrupt. Kai Min was also speechless. But when I spoke up, she temporarily held back. K Jen noticed I wasn't speaking. He thought I was scared. His attitude became even more arrogant. So you were recording just now. As he said this, he gestured to his assistant beside him. Search him for me. Kai Min no longer waited idly. Just as I was about to reveal my identity, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of Sha Qingning approaching with a group of people.